hear the will from Lord Kitchener. All you know the man, give me still a
Good evening, TNT family. Welcome back to the Yellow is the Core program on UNC USA. I have with me here our civil engineer, Mr. Ken Dalchan, and Mr. Suman Singh, our lead technical analyst and financial advisor and technical advisor in technology. Welcome, gentlemen, back to the Yellow is the Core program. So we see here there's an article were written by Shane Superville, where the PNM again on their race agenda trying to spin this home invasion bill into a racial type of meaning, in the fact that we have people in the country of all races being attacked, and it is very shameful to see the fact that what they are trying to do in spinning this into some kind of a racial thing. But gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the program. Go ahead, Mr. Singh or Ken, any one of you guys, go ahead.
Thank you, Gary.
All right.
Suman, you want to take it?
Yes, I can take it from here.
Ken, Gary, good night and welcome to our listening audience. This article, I pondered on this article today and I got some research done on it as well. And this fears of racial bias, exactly as you're saying, it is a spin from the media. You know, our media, they don't not do any sort of investigative reporting. They just report, for reporting sake. Now, in the US, it was to a large extent racial in nature because of the very way the blacks, American blacks were treated post emancipation there, especially in states like Georgia, Louisiana, and to a large extent Florida as well. In fact, our own law, home invasion law, stand your ground law, is based on the Florida model. But with that has been tweaked, and the onus of our standard ground law is based on good old English common law, which it was an extension exactly as of the procedural aspect of the law at present. So, all law states simply, hey, you cannot shoot a man if you comes into your home unless unless you are challenged in some way or the other. And you cannot shoot him in the back. You have to take aim on his leg and blah, blah, blah. That is the old English common law. So, what this law, this standard ground law, it has gone further to say, hey, once you enter my property, I have the right to do what I want. You are in the wrong place, my friend. And
But
that is
Suman, we cannot, number one, we cannot wait on a criminal
well,
coming into house. Nowadays, these young people are carrying heavy military grade weapons, and the difference is again also, this is not a white majority population in Trinidad. Most of us look the same.
correct.
Okay, and in fact, the majority of the police is more of a black or African nature in race,
Yes.
and that has been and the military and everything. So where does the racial ideology comes from? You see, they're focused on the fact that the prime minister is an Indian, and anytime there is an Indian prime minister, they will try to spin this disrespect and degrade the prime minister as much as they can.
Yeah, it even happened with the laptops 2 weeks ago. They were questioning why the school, Pinal Secondary School, was one of the first schools that get laptops. So, what about over the 5 years when the UNC was there under the People Partnership? It was not an issue when the Success Lab until I think it was the first school that got laptops. Didn't hear them that time because it was an Afrocentric school and an Afro community. But once it's an Indian school or an Indian community, the race becomes a major talking point. And this is the bullshit that goes on.
Yeah.
But you see, the hate they have conditioned their children mind. That's why you see some
Mhm.
of them go into Indian communities and do what they're doing because they
And
program the children mind to think in a certain way, right?
yes,
But I mean
yes,
I mean that is this is a minority in the PNM, is a racial cabal in the PNM that propagates this kind of nonsense. And you
yeah,
see people
not all of
like
them,
yeah, go ahead.
Um,
not all of them, but
None of them. That's it. The PNM
Correct.
has
Not all of them.
a racial cabal that is
Yeah.
pushing this
yes,
agenda.
yeah,
So you want to try to tell me African Trinis and other races in the country not being attacked and robbed and raped in the country? You know how many Afro
and
Trinis
not.
are seen robbed and killed in the country?
What about
That's
in
correct.
Tobago, where there's an Afrocentric population there? And there is still home invasion in Tobago. There were
You
three of them so far this week.
most of the drive-bys is Afro Trinis getting killed by Afro
So
Trinis.
you see,
So where does the race come?
yes, You see, they are conditioned to think like that.
Right.
From the PNM, they have conditioned their supporters. Even when how you think Scott and talking is pack of bullshit to say that, oh, he's not going to support this standard ground law because it targets his constituents. What crap is this?
He talking about the constituency he represents in court to his actual constituents.
Yeah.
Yes. So most of the if that be so, hey, doesn't matter where or whoever does the crime, there's to empty the clip on their ass as far.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Empty the clip.
Samantha Foster Cummins, the General Secretary of the PNM, right, is crying racial bias in the law. And he's trying to build some sort of baseless argument. And the reason why I say baseless is because this is a man whose party, right, was in government for the last 10 years. And we must not forget what they did to this country, the decay. And here's the facts that Foster Cummins need to put in his pipe and smoke it. Last year, 2024, 624 homicides under his government, under their watch. 2 years prior to that, another record. And I mean 600 plus, which was 605.
624.
Right? 624 last year, but 605 in 2022, right? Record again.
Right.
So again, put that in your pipe and smoke it, Foster Cummins. Don't start that with racial and all this nonsense. It's baseless. Under your government watch, in the last 10 years, the country has decayed, right? There's turned a pile of crap, right? I mean, to say we started to get international recognition for not the good reason, any good reason, you know. So again, the people in the PNM wants to cry racial bias and stuff. All that is baseless. It shows that you, right, created a monster. And now you're trying to now preach to the choir about what you failed to do.
But you know, those people who are going out there and stealing, wasn't it the PNM that put them in that predicament to suffer? I mean, if you go through some of these communities that belong to the PNM constituency and the level of suffering and complaints that you have from those people there, they are shameless. They have conveniently used those people for votes.
Correct,
right?
Gary.
They have conveniently used those people to vote and brainwash them that we are the enemy.
And let me just take it one step forward here, right? The people are not bad, right? It is the representatives in office in these communities in the Lavantil, the what you call it, Silots, right? Area and Mafan. Those people are not bad, right? When it comes, or they would not cry racial bias. Is their representatives who are the one inciting that racial tones and racial bias and segregation, saying, okay, this is unfair, it's disproportionate, it's blah, 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 blah. You know what, again, when you look at those communities, they have not moved up the socioeconomic strata. They are always at one place. And why is that? If you're in government, how come you never made an impact in those communities, right? The people are just there without any upward mobility. And at some point, I think they're going to wake up, and say, you know what?
Well,
this man who telling us about coal pot and go and ride bicycle and stuff, that ain't going to work again. He wants us to remain right there.
Well, I mean, look at the election. By the not coming out to vote, by the young people changing the dynamics. A lot of them were threatened. A lot of them were threatened and humiliated and couldn't say they're going to vote UNC. You know what I mean? But they did. They stood up because they realized this is about their survival. And they recognized that they had a prime minister between 2010 and 2015 that really cared about them, that had a heart for them, that put the things necessary in place to help them better themselves. And that is the result of we see of this election, where those young people who was in school at the time received a laptop and they came out full-fledged.
He's more educated than
they
the
came
rest.
out and they ambushed the PNM.
Right. And I say to those young people, change is good, right? Change is good. And that's why Gary has said we need to build the channel. We need to ask the viewers to subscribe, to share, and to like, right? Because I think that this new generations we are seeing here, they have a mind of their own. And they will realize that they're being fooled by the PNM. right? They're not moving up that socioeconomic strata or ladder, so to speak, you know. And people are not stupid anymore like 50 years ago to 40 years ago, you know, right? Where you're read till you're dead and all kind of nonsense. They want to hear that again, you know. People have the power of information in their fingertips, right? They could analyze stuff, they could look at stuff, and they could think, you know. But when you hear a man, a senior counsel, telling people about coal pot and breadfruit and all kind of nonsense and bicycles and stuff, right? That's backward thinking, right?
Like,
You know,
like he was cooking in a coal pot, like he was using a bicycle to get to Parliament, right? In the meantime, you have your own constituents suffering, and you,
suffering,
what have you
exactly.
really delivered to your constituents except throwing a few crumbs here?
Yeah, yeah. But now, look, so there is nothing racial about the law because it's there to protect everyone. It didn't specify race,
Everyone.
religion,
Correct.
sex, or whatever, right? It is there to protect the people of Trinidad and Tobago and to make Trinidad a better place. Unlike the PNM now, who made it historically one of the worst places, right, in the Caribbean. When you look at the statistics and you look at the in data online on somebody over some of the public forums and stuff there, right? We rank sixth, we rank
Yes.
fifth when it comes to crime, home invasion. And look, a lot of these home invasions are not being reported, you know. Not all of them are being reported, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
so the numbers that we're seeing here could be
It's
much
not a true reflection.
larger.
It's not a true reflection.
Yeah. Now look
Yeah.
at it, for example, the homicides, right? We had 424 last year. But what about those people who are missing? The 100 plus persons gone missing without a
Yes.
trace, and we haven't heard of them as of yet. Are they dead? Or did they just vanish? Or a spaceship from outer space just come and pick them up, right? Now,
See,
let me tell you something. If you haven't heard from someone who, you know, 30, 40 days, 6 months, you assume that they're dead, right? People just don't vanish. Is either they're dead? That's the only thing I could think of. So those
yeah.
numbers, 624, could probably go much higher, even close to
Much.
700, right?
Agreed. Agreed.
700.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think our data, we are not collecting proper data,
You
right?
see, and that
Nothing
is
is
what
perfect.
bugs me more than anything else. The whole world, everything today is run on data. Whatever type of data you can collect, any
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
data, from traffic data, from mobility data, from differently abled data, from agriculture census data, from households data. Any type of data can be massaged into decision-making outcomes. So you can
that's
better
correct.
your country by planning and using that data, massaging that data to identify problems. And once you know what the problem is, it's like a doctor, you don't diagnose the patient, so you can recommend a prescription. And this is the thing. But when you do not collect data, and Larry, you remember, I always keep on telling the audience this data, these systems that they had in place, that it's all broken and
Yeah, yes.
deliberately broken by the PNM. So
Yeah,
ensure that there is no tracking
yeah.
of the accountability and transparency, and so there's nothing. So who are you going to hold, or who are you going to target for the
Yeah.
non-delivery of your investments?
So,
Nobody
yeah,
gets targeted.
Listen,
Nobody gets
the
jailed for it.
PNM scam the people into believing by throwing them a few little bit of crumbs and causing them to go
Mhm.
against a prime minister who had put things very substantial for them to help them build themselves. Everything from the baby grant, for the milk for the babies, the early childhood
Mhm.
learning, they destroyed all of these things. Now, if we steer children from the early childhood learning to learn and to go in the right direction and put the cultural things in place, we would not have the crime problem we have today. But they took the majority of the cake, dropped some crumbs for the people and make them feel like they're getting something, and turn them against who really was interested in helping them and was helping them.
Yeah, but Gary, when I worked in the Ministry of Education, we had the philosophy from cradle to grave, and that meant that children from 3 years old could start kindergarten school. But before that, they were being kept by the UN People Partnership Party because mothers and so on were given a monthly grant of $500 to take care of the kids and so
I just
on.
want to
And they had-
mention that I have the comments automatically feed on the screen, so you guys can look and you can respond to our viewers in the audience if you see comments.
Sure,
okay.
Sure, whenever
All
they
right.
have.
Welcome,
definitely,
Nadira
definitely.
and everyone.
Yeah. So as I was saying, so
Yeah.
basically from the time the kids were born, and when they went to enter ECCE schools, after they finished their A levels and so on, tertiary, and PUTT, UV, and what have you, they had the adult education program ongoing. So it was a philosophy from cradle to grave. Who wanted to take advantage of that took advantage of it. You know, so it was not there for one person or one ethnic group or what have you. And all this type of BS which you see printed in the press and so on, or scholarships are given only to one sector, the people, it's all nonsense, you know, hogwash. So some commentators tried to justify that, or only Indian students get most of this 90% of the scholarships at that time. And what about the rest? Well, let me tell you something. You see, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, up to the 90s, most of the scholarship winners were Afro-Chinese. How come all of a sudden that they have disintegrated so much? Look at this, you know, the correlation, how you can identify that. Look at the amount of prisoners in the jails and see now if not more than 95% of them are Afro-Chinese. So you see, as the level of education dropped, as they stopped winning scholarships, the jails went up with Afros. And you see that strong correlation. Before it was not like that. When they were studying and when they were getting scholarship, the jails were not 95% Afros. So you see, there's a strong correlation between education and the quality of our citizenry. But the first line of attack for the PNM and for the press to an extent is race. That's the first thing that pops into their head.
Yeah.
Whenever they cannot get something to their liking, is race. Whenever the data points that 95% of the criminals in the jails and so on, you know, race becomes the issue. You know, the economic poverty, they are suffering from economic, so that qualifies them to go and commit crime. All these bullshit things is what they keep on hearing in the press and in the social commentary and, you know, all these NGO party groups and what have you. Hey, you know, it's okay to commit the crime because we are disadvantaged. You know, we had to take from who have, you know, because we were disadvantaged on this government. This is where they push this thing in their heads and sort of psychologically, you know, bring them up to say, well, it's okay to go and take it from them. They have. And that is why we have entered into this rut. We have entered into this rut.
Let me ask you something. We who did not get help from Eric William, our parents and grandparents did not get help from Eric William. They were discriminated against. They had to had to plant their yard to feed their family. They didn't get no government job. We was not how to say disenfranchised and disadvantaged.
In every sphere of life.
Most of the people in the Southland plant rice and we were called. In fact, we were called what alligators in the lagoon, right? And they send their children to overseas, to England and all over the world, plant sugarcane, right? Did Eric William help? Did we get a PNM scholarship? In the meantime, while your group there, who was getting all the freeness from the government, didn't make anything for themselves. Whose fault is that? Is it so now
Yes.
you're instigating your grandchildren to come and rob we, right?
Yep.
Because
Correct.
we work hard and we have something. But in the meantime, we
Yes.
didn't get no freeness. And then there's also a lot
Right.
of Afro-Chinese in the Southland also who have made it, who followed us and they made it and they did good, right?
Yes. Correct.
So
Let me give you a statistic. You know, they always try to
this kind of racial thing is mostly up from the north, because everybody in central
Yeah.
and south, it you
Oh,
ain't that kind of nonsense,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
now you got now you
We don't
now
live
you're
so.
beginning,
We don't live
Yeah.
so.
you're
Yeah,
beginning to talk. If you go to any cricket match in Guaracara Park, you see the camaraderie that exists among the races. Anything in Central, anything to go Siparia and Siparia, Feta Point Forty is a mixture. Nobody is no racial thing. But once you go on to the northern, I can tell you from experience, boy. Um, Even the people from Tobago, because I live and work in Tobago long time, and even though they are Afro, like the typical Afro, 95% Tobagoans Afro, and they themselves are scared when they come to Port of Spain. When they come from the airport or they come in the boat, they are scared. They say, boy, we feel safer in Sando and Cuba and Chaguanas in the Southland here, Siparia Forest Reserve and so on, where they go, and they interact with the Orupu and what have you. They say they feel safer down there than among their own Afros who live in the north.
Watch back this video. Watch back the video with the Maxi and see what kind of people getting robbed. traumatizing people, but it's okay. That don't matter to them. But they come in the parliament to talk race.
No,
And to
but
make
see,
Yeah. Gary,
he
is a
have
mixture of people there getting robbed. Black people mostly getting robbed there, right? Right?
he has a right to
Young black
say
males robbing black people. And anybody else, did anybody any
but
opportunity to
but
see?
the thing about it is why these children found themselves in this situation to do this is because PNM put them there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
It's PNM put them there, bring
why
them
don't we
there.
ask us?
Yeah.
Why don't we ask Foster Cummins to comment on that video? Right? Why do you
Yeah.
comment on these type of things? Come forward and make a comment. Right?
So
No, they wouldn't do that.
now
Right?
we see why Keith Scotland
You
is saying
see,
that if
when
he
you're
is
faced with the
discriminated,
facts, right? You can't mama guy the facts, right? You can't
you
talk your way
can't.
out of that
Correct.
624 murders in last year, right? And
Yes.
this
Welcome,
type
Dr.
of
Mirage.
rampant
Dr.
crime we
Mirage in
see
the
in here.
house.
But
Yes, good.
Sumant,
Doc, you hearing me? Go ahead, Ken. Go ahead, Ken.
yeah, Sumant,
Yeah.
I want to jump a little bit in the article there, right?
Uh-huh.
In the third paragraph, Senior Counsel Larry Lala, he's saying that
Yeah.
the bill was rushed and
Yeah, but
it should have we needed more time to plan and vet it properly. Let me respond to that.
remember
Yeah,
he's a
he's a senior
before
counsel.
I go,
Yeah,
before you do so, let me just quickly say one sentence that he is noted to be a political grasshopper from
correct.
ILP, from ULF, from this partnership and so on. So he just looks to see where he can get briefs and so on, whichever party. Now he's
Well,
the Red
he
Devils,
could
he's
jump.
there.
He could jump like a grasshopper to wherever he want, right? But what he's saying there is what I will respond to directly. And here's the thing: when you're faced with a
Yes.
life and death situation, there's no time to think. If a wild animal or a bear is attacking you, you think I have that time to open a book to say, okay, let me see. Rule number one: how should I approach this situation here? Right? You can't think. You have to think about survival here. We are we have inherited a situation with a life and death situation. While we thinking people are dying, as this program is finished here, people are getting robbed, right? They're getting killed. A man was kidnapped, and luckily he escaped from somewhere. Where is it? Um, somewhere central there, right? I saw the newspaper. So this is time is of the essence here, and we have to put something critical in place that's effective, and I think we got it in the stand your ground law, right? So how much are you gonna think? 10 years the PNM are thinking of what, right? So for him to come now and insult people's intelligence here, right? By saying we need to think, right? As if 10 years wasn't enough. This
And spend what,
situation,
100 million
time
in
is of the
research?
essence.
He had 10 years.
Correct.
Where was Larry Lala head in the last 10 years? Right?
But hey, Gary, you know what? Everybody have to sing for the supper, yeah? So he have to drink
And
the Kool-Aid.
those who rose up against our prime minister in this election to derail us is totally shameless and self-serving people. And we have to watch them. We should
That is
not take
correct.
any advice from them at all, especially those who went against when they know how critical this was a battle of survival, this was a life and death
Absolutely.
election, and
Absolutely.
you went against to derail this army that's trying to secure the country, and now you're trying to ambush the army that is in position to secure the country.
To save the country, Gary, to save the country. We were in a free fall, right? A lot of people I spoke to, they say, Ken, after the election, they say, Ken, I felt like a burden has lifted, a weight has lifted off of the whole country. You know, we were free falling, right? So for how Larry Lala, when something is free falling, you don't have time to think, right? You have to act right away, there and then. The law is already there. You can amend it and make it better to work much more effective to save lives, right? So I totally disagree with him in that article when he talk about we need more time to think. Think about what? I mean, you had
Yes.
10 years to think
We,
and you failed. You had 10 years to think and you made history in the worst way ever. 624 murders last year, right? So there's no time to think again.
He is, as you say quite correctly, he's just singing for his supper. These fellas.
People don't care about the country, some people don't care about this country, you know. Right? They only care about themselves.
They don't care.
Right? But you know, when someone from their family has been violated, right? I know friends who have been violated, who are victims who are no longer here, right? That is why you get so emotional sometimes. You want to solve this problem. You want to see progress. You want to see crime drop to zero, right? Because they don't have anyone or friends who have been violated or whose life has been cut short, right? Because of the PNM's failure to protect its citizens. So we're not going to go back there again and spin top in mud and practice and preach the same nonsense, and same sort of failure and walk in their footsteps. This is a different approach here. We have to measure the success and the progress as we move forward. Set goals and measure the progress.
Dr. Maharaj, you want to jump in? Anytime you want to jump in, Dr. Maharaj, go ahead.
No, just listening to you guys, but
we're referring to the article here, where the PNM obviously was spinning the race, a meaning to what the law is and what we're trying to do,
Yeah. For my conversation last night, you would know I'm off this kind of nitty-gritty kind of scraping the barrel kind of thing. I'm not in that kind of behavior. So I wanted to make this point that I wanted you all to make, especially those of you who live in America. The Trinidad people must know that we are contributing here because we have a different perspective to many of the things they are seeing in Trinidad. So I said seeing. I remember Gary, this began, I said something like it last night too, and I want to repeat it so we get it clear. You said that police must work with the community police, and that kumbaya moment, I understand, and that is what led me to make the statement last night, and I want to repeat it tonight about this stand your ground law. The reason why we had to resort to this kind of law is because the police needed some extra help. They're kind of getting somewhere. And if citizens could help them by protecting themselves, because the police cannot be here, there, and everywhere, that is the rationale for this legislation. So I understand all this thing about defend yourself and private property and blah, blah, blah. That's the low-level thinking. The deeper level thinking will lead us to understand from a bigger picture that the police need help, and the best way we can give them that help is to arm the citizens, which they agree with, which they want to happen. And therefore, who the hell could say anything else? If the police and the government is agreeing, this is the best way going forward to tackle it. So all this kind of article they're writing is just putting hot air and making and filling space. Because the guy had to write something and had to put some stuff down. But we don't bother. I mean, so I'm not taking on these people seriously. That's the point I make. Well, you guys could discuss them.
But this is the thing about Dr. Maharaj. We have to counterattack the nonsense. We have to counterattack the nonsense.
Right. Correct. So I don't want to get into nonsense and nonsense deserve nonsense. So leave it right there. But you understand my point. And I think I'm repeating that the police cannot do the job, and therefore they want our help.
Not only that, the best police cannot do it. The best police cannot do it.
Gary, here's something.
That's right. So that is why we think that enlisting the help of the civilians by giving them firearms, those who qualify, that is, so that they can help the police to protect themselves, so the police could do other things than having to wait in Valsain corner to see who's coming whatever night to raid whoever house. So they'll devote themselves on macro policies rather than micro business. We'll take care of the micro part, and that's where your thing about the citizens could do that. And therefore, if the citizens could protect themselves, the police could engage in other things that is important and national security and those, and maybe go up and look for the gang wherever the gang hiding and blah blah blah.
So I had an experience here in the US where a policeman asked me if I want him to come hold my hand because I was making a complaint about someone that was intended to attack me or making threats. He asked me if I want him to come hold my hand.
You could, well, if he had nothing else to do, that's what the hell he could do that, sure. If he had nothing else to do.
So
Or if you had, if it's
the whole point is here. Even the best police force cannot do it alone. Citizens have to have the right. Any government that does not understand that you must have the right to defend yourself, and the government and the law must respect that right, that you are being attacked and you must not be treated like a criminal when you defend yourself in whatever means. If somebody comes into your house before they even do anything, that's a direct threat on your life.
That
yes,
is correct,
that,
Gary.
That's a direct
and
threat
that
on
is
your
why we
life right
say,
there.
that is why we're couching it in such a way that they have enlisted our help because they couldn't do it. If they could have done it, I would not be mugged in my house. I would not I would not lose my car. My child wouldn't get killed. My wife wouldn't get murdered. My sister wouldn't get beaten. Like I give you the example. They take 40 minutes to come to the scene. Then drive to St. Joseph Police Station, 1 mile
40
away.
minutes, 40 minutes
They
is
could have walked
good.
down and come. They could
40
have jumped on
minutes
a
is
bicycle
good.
and be in 10 minutes. They had to wait on
Well,
a vehicle. What
re-
if they had no vehicle? Okay.
500 vehicles the prime minister just talked about last time we played it, right? And she got 14 ready, and by 55 by Christmas.
So
yeah,
we don't want to play the game down the hill, down the hill. We want to
right.
play the game up the hill. We are past those PNM. I told you that last night. PNM is in the 19th century. We are in the 21st. So all this thing, and the papers are not backward either. It's somewhere between 19th and 20th century, 21st century. They also, that this garden, whatever the cop paper this is, they're the same thing. They're down the hill. We are up the hill. We have to just leave them behind and keep on going. That's what I told you all last night. This is the last hurrah. This is the last train to Paramaribo. My friend here, my friend from Venezuela. This is the last train. This is the last chance Trinidad have if they want to save themselves and move forward to our 21st century. This is the last chance. They have no more chances. So they better to get it right and better talking nonsense. And if
That's
they want to
right.
follow the
That's right.
PNM, remain that because some of them
Yeah.
want to be down the hill because they prefer. I mean, Sparrow said they like it so. We got Sparrow out of this thing. Sparrow was a diehard PNM and the job come with the days of the ONR where I joined. When I joined, they like it so. So if them like it so, we don't like it so, and we will do better. Help us to do better. This is your country. This is how we're going to do it. Join the UNC. Let's go with it. Run with it. That's my bottom line. I have nothing more to read or hear to whatever anybody's saying. I have nothing. I told you already, PNM is good in opposition. They have to stay there, leave them in opposition. The government, the UNC is good in government. They have to stay there, let them continue governing for a long infinity. No, without in perpetuity. So that is why I stand, and I will continue to make that point. Sometime, maybe tonight or next week when we meet, I'll be laying down the groundwork from in your program, Gary. Thanks very much that I could continue to. I really don't want to do this thing. Look, I will just make the point. We live in America. How do we see things in Trinidad? Does people care about how Trinidad people live in America? Care about how they see things in Trinidad? You think we want to see it like how they're seeing it? We want to see it that way, plus. And that is why you call it UNC USA. You don't call it UNC, and it's not UNC and USA, it's both. So we'll come to that point maybe tonight or some other time. Again, I have something else to say there. But in the meantime, I with you guys 100%. Keep on talking. I will listen for a little while again. Go ahead.
Gary, when we
Yeah.
analyze the activity,
Right.
right, the home invasion activity itself, let's look at that. You're sleeping in your house with your family, right? Four men break into your home. They're entering the home. That's when you hear that noise, and you startle, your heart pumping. You start to think a million things. You probably run to your camera to see what's going on. They're already on in your home, right? You do you have time to call the police to now tell them where you are, what's your address? The adrenaline is pumping there that you probably don't know how to even dial 999. The only thing that you can do there when you analyze the activity in terms of time, how everything is moving in terms of seconds, You don't have the leisure of time there. And you have to now think 100 miles an hour and make sure you get it right. Because any wrong move you make in that microsecond, millisecond, it could change the whole equation, whether you live or die. Right?
Correct.
You cannot think about law or this, or whether a man's unarmed or armed or shoot him in his back or leg. Because someone can take their fists and deliver a force that could kill you in an instant. Four guys punching you and kicking you could kill you in a matter of minutes. To crack your ribs, stomp on your head. So you have to think now. You don't have to think about matching force. Whether they unarmed, they armed, they have an ice pick, or they have what? Or sling shot. Right? Yeah, someone to take a brick and hit you over the head with it, or pelt and hit you in your face, some part of your head, and you're dead in an instant. But are you willing to gamble with your life or play Russian roulette and get tied up on in all of the draconian laws that we had previously, right? Which weren't clear.
And we
But
had a
force.
police force, in spite of all what is happening, was working against us. They wouldn't budge to grant you that FUL. They wanted a bribe in some of them, and
Correct.
somebody had to know somebody, and they want a little. You had to give them a few $1,000s, and then all kind of rigmarole just to get the FUL. Not that the police shows an interest.
And
The
Gary,
police did not show an interest.
that is an
and they
excellent
still
point.
want to maintain this with the commissioner alone could sign off on
Correct.
the FUL. That could
Correct.
never be. That could never be. Go ahead,
And Gary,
Ken.
here's something. I'm glad you bring up that point. Because now that we have the bill in place, we need to get the other component to support that. And I'm going to make this statement. You cannot take a knife to a gunfight, right? These guys are heavily armed today. Most of the time, they come in your home with a firearm, right? So you have to match that force. We have a problem now with this FUL process, where, as you just mentioned, Gary, some people looking for a bribe and they want to kind of impede the whole process.
But that has been happening for the longest while in the country. I had too many complaints about that. In fact, there were people paying at $20,000. There was some points where some business people had to pay $50,000. But the police can reach. The police can reach in your house if you go and buy. If you go and buy a firearm illegally, they will reach quicker for you than the criminals out there with the guns, right? If you sought to buy somebody sell you out.
So again, that is why I want to reiterate the fact that the point that I made a couple days ago, where we need to shift that responsibility away from the COP and find something that is much more time efficient. Because while the COP is waiting on is procrastinating, and I don't know what else he's doing, right? And the whole process is allegedly corrupt, where people are taking bribes, etc., to get this thing. People are getting killed while all of that is taking place. They're getting kidnapped. So we
And
need
this is where technology
shift
can
that
help big
responsibility.
time.
Correct, Sumad. We need to put it in an electronic database where people can log on and look at the application and address any sort of comments or defects in the application. And
that
move the
is
process.
the only way you could expedite the application process.
We also need to have a turnaround time for these applications.
Yes.
Right?
1 month.
So someone can send a
month.
message and say, hey, to the committee, my application is pending 1 year now. And I haven't gotten the status, right? So we need to make this process much more efficient. And that will complement the stand your ground law, because again, you cannot take a knife to a gunfight. Right?
And that's easy to do, Ken. That's very simple. If you have
definitely,
10
and we have to work on that,
for
Sumad.
example,
We have to bring up that now, and that is the next piece of the business we got to work on.
If you have 10 criteria for someone to get an FUL, and let's say it's held back because you only met 9 criteria, what is the other criteria that is withholding you from getting a firearm? Why
Maybe
can't
bribe.
you know about
They
that?
would create a criteria. Okay, and not only that, how can the police commissioner handle all his duties until review all those firearm
Correct. Correct.
applications?
One
Somebody
man
has to
has
tell me
limited
that.
capacity.
Okay.
One man has limited
Some
capacity.
moron had to explain that, especially the moron who write the article in the papers recently about it should stay with the police commissioner. They are trying to put spokes in this government wheels. There's a lot of people out there who
Mhm.
are trying to put spokes in the government wheels when moving forward. People like Larry Lala and a lot of journalists out there in the print media, you understand, working on behalf to protect these criminals who have had the country under siege.
Yes.
That is correct, Gary. And
I mean,
also,
how these gangs could develop and mature in in a community, and the police don't know they existing, and the police not doing nothing, and then all of a sudden these gangs grow so big that you can't control them. Where was the police? Where was the police sleeping?
everybody was drinking the Kool-Aid.
Listen,
Everybody drinking the Kool-Aid.
we have to demand some reports from the police administration about the accounting of the vehicles, the accounting how the funding was spent, the accounting of how the officers were deployed, and we have to review a lot of things, the reports, how they handle the various cases. You know, we have to look at a lot of things. We have a lot of forensic work to do. There
Correct.
has to be
Gary, also we had to look at
accountability. We can't
response time.
leave the commissioner of police alone there and say, well, okay, he was chosen by the police POs, the Police Service Commission.
Sims,
Yeah, and leave it at that. We have to
even
set up some kind of structure where the police is being how to say, monitored. It has to be
Sims.
monitored. How they
So it's
perform, how they handle. We have to get documentation on how they handle various cases. What was their response time?
Correct.
What action was taken when the complaint was made. We can't let the police be police.
Yeah. Gary, I want to say something. I heard, I don't have the facts, but I heard in the Central Division, I heard Central crime is dropping in Central, right? And I know there's a gentleman there in the force. I know him personally,
oh yeah,
right?
Johnny
Not
is
Johnny. My
okay.
a good friend of mine.
They put John in the NOC.
Yeah.
NFC, yes. Yes,
So
yes, yes.
there's a gentleman by the name of Mark Hernandez, right? I know him personally. That guy has a wealth of experience when it comes to fighting crime, kidnapping, and all sorts of stuff. And I have a lot of confidence in him.
What not
And
can a lot will depend on the amount of resource he has,
All
right?
right.
correct,
All
correct.
right,
But he has the
and
knowledge to
yeah,
plan and to put things in
the knowledge.
place.
But you see what happened is the way they're operating. This has to be upgraded. We need that structure where community and police is working
Correct.
in hand. Where because you could never. Let me tell you something. You could never have enough eyes. You could never have enough manpower. You understand what I'm saying to you? So we have to lock it down. We have to lock down these communities
E-
that we send the message. The way we lock it down, and these criminals will learn quickly that if they intend to come in there, they better change their mind. All
Correct.
right,
Well,
and that
we
is
also have to
what I'm
provide the
talking about.
resources. The resources is
Because of how we
important.
respond, how quickly we respond, how quickly we counterattack them, and the force objection. I don't care. I don't care about detection. I care about prevention.
That is
Okay,
correct.
okay, and only Jesus Christ I know could resurrect the dead. All right, so justice, don't resurrect the dead. I keep repeating that. Okay, we have to organize ourselves where we stop these criminals in their tracks, and this is what I am looking for.
That is
Correct.
absolutely correct. But
Yes. Yeah. So, as I was saying, there are some archaic rules that still govern the procedures in public service and the police service. For example, what the Prime Minister was saying about, when she inquired about why so many vehicles and what are the nature of some of the issues for these vehicles not being able to operate. And the one that kink on my memory is they're saying it requires an oil change, so the car is is parked up because of the oil change. But do you know, when you have a problem with your car for an oil change, you go and get it done the next day, right? Or the next week, as the case may be, if you're in town. But the procedures to get an oil change, you have to go and you get 3 quotes, and then you have to go through the application process down from the lower level right up to the PS level to authorize that expenditure.
But so Suman, let me tell you something. You want to bet them fellas didn't do our oil change for a whole year and the car becomes so seized up?
Correct.
You understand what's happening there?
Yeah.
So this you see Junior Benjamin and all those who work under him there, we have to hold them accountable. They have to give us a proper report why this happened. I mean, Commissioner Guevara just came in on the scene there, but he has to give us a report also. But we must hold the police administration for the chaos that took place under their watch. They can't slide.
And Gary, that's a good
can't
point.
let them go easy like that.
So
And
who
Gary,
is doing the maintenance of these vehicles? Okay, my vehicle this month is 30,000 miles. When it reaches 40,000 miles, who inspects the vehicle? Hey, an oil change supposed to take place every 5,000 miles. How come 2 months have passed and no oil change of this vehicle? Who questions that and who is responsible for that? They're the ones who are supposed to be held for this nonsense that's going
And how
on.
many officers take the car and park it up in their yard,
Yeah.
right? Or for their postal use, and the police don't have a vehicle to respond. Okay?
So you see,
Explain that happened under your watch. Tell me about that.
it's systematic error. It's a systems error, and nobody
Well,
corrects these things
right.
over time.
And that's where a
And-
structure comes in, a well-vetted structure, right, to be put in place. You know, again, we have to respect public funds here. It's not to be wasted. And Gary, I posted a video with the road, where a brand new road is built, and the curb is higher than than the road itself, right? About 3 or 4 inches. How is the water going to? Where the water going to drain to? It's going to pond there, right? And create a safety hazard for motorists. Now, coming back to the point, right? Who inspected and accepted that scope of work?
You see, this is where I say our quality assurance team is very relevant. You know that our quality assurance monitoring, our risk management team is very essential going forward. You know, and we need to be able to monitor certain things and give a report.
And
At
that's why we
every
need
level,
a special
Gary,
team, a special
every-
team assigned to monitor these things, independent of the government, so that
at
they can
every
write
level,
unbiased report and submit it.
at
Because
every
you can't tell
level.
you can't ask the police within a station to give me a report on his vehicles. Okay, you think he's going to say anything wrong with his vehicles? No. You need an independent body to write and go and investigate and write that report. So you go randomly say, hey, 10 vehicles here. When was the oil change here? Let me see the receipts, please. And you have a standard operating procedure for them to comply with, right? And you write your report based on that, and you submit it.
So
We have a lot of restructuring to do. We definitely have a restructuring to do.
You see, people in the public life feel as though the public funds is there to be wasted. We waste it, no problem. If it works, it doesn't work, trial and error, we'll try to fix it again. Because we have an infinite amount of public funds here, right? No accountability, and that has to stop.
So see, that's why the QS report and so on. Every time a check has to be cut for payment or any contractor or so, that QS report becomes paramount, because that will say, hey, is 40% of the work has been done so far. Let's see how much monies have been dispersed. You can't want to pay 40% of the work and you disperse 60%
But
of
Suman,
the
let me just say
money.
something. Suman, let me just say something. 40% completed, but was it accepted based on the drawings and the specs?
The scope,
The quality of work. Was it
Yes.
accepted? Was it acceptable? Right?
The QS will take that's their function.
But so then what about the road there? Who fell asleep behind the wheel when that curb is higher than the road?
Correct.
Right.
So
What
to
happened
tell
there?
you what goes on, the this is exactly my point I've made all along. When these QS and these people are from the ministries themselves who don't know their head from their foot, all we have been doing, that's normal practice, man. That is we, and they just sidestep the issue, and no one is
And there
held
lies the problem.
accountable. That
And
is
there lies the problem.
Yes, and no one is held accountable. So this is
the
what,
ministers are not supposed to go hook, line, and sinker with their technical people or people within the ministry because they're going to get played, right?
Mhm,
And we are going to end up continuing to waste public funds.
mhm.
When a project is substandard, we have to go and remediate it, right?
So
Again,
next set of expenditure to fix
exactly.
something that you already paid.
Monies that we don't have, we need to eliminate and reduce wastage. That is my point. We have to reduce wastage. And who will
Yes.
benefit? The people of Trinidad and Tobago.
And there's something called a retention fee. At least 15%, the general standard procedure. You withhold 50% of the contract. Let's say a contract is $200 million. You withhold $30 million within let's say over a 2-year period after they have submitted the end of scope and end of project, just to make sure that if anything goes wrong during this 2 years, which you said nothing is going to happen and so on, but should something go wrong, it is your responsibility to fix this at no additional cost to the taxpayer. That's why this retention fee is critical, to make sure that you don't get substandard work and your work collapse within a year of building it.
Right, but here's something, Samad. Why is it the public with their phone cameras have to go out there and be the investigative reporter to find the defects and on these projects and to find the substandard work? Why is it that John Public now have to go and now bring that out, right? Well, that is the people within the ministry. They are supposed to do their job and do it right and ensure that the work is up to standard. It reflects the specs and the drawings and is part of it complies with contract documents, etc., and sign off on that and then cut that check, right? Not when John Public have to go and make this video, show the curb and the road. That is a monumental embarrassment and reflects the incompetence in these ministries, right? And again, the people who are losing here are the taxpayers or the people of Trinidad and Tobago. But more so, some instances, it's creating a problem, a safety problem. Now, for example, the water in that road cannot drain, it's ponding. And a motorist is hydroplanes, and all of a sudden he hits the barrier, or he loses control and hits someone, he gets killed. Now, what happens there? Right? We're going to say they're sorry for the substandard work, or we fell asleep behind the wheel. People have to be held accountable, right? That nonsense where we accepting substandard work and stuff, those days should be gone also, right? And we can hold people accountable, whether you're an engineer or you're a technical person or whoever you are, right? You're supposed to do your job and do it right. You can't do it, find some next to it.
Let me give you a good example of how this thing is going to continue in the future and why no one is taking steps to halt this process. They recently advertised, the government, that is, current government, advertised for 20,000 jobs, right? Most of these are filling of existing vacancies. Most of these jobs are, like to say, 80 to 90% on the lower end. None of these people who is coming into these jobs are decision makers. They're just shuffling paper, writing invoice, blah, 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 typing and so on, filing, typing, messenger work, cleaners and what have you. They're on the low end. Yet you're bringing in 20,000 new people in the workforce who cannot implement. You see, our problem is implementation. That is where the problems accrue to any government. I don't know if you recall Stuart Young saying it took them 9 years to learn about implementation. Now, after 9.5 years, they now know how to implement. Okay. I just hope that this current government doesn't fall into that same trap, that you employ people for employing sake, but what they really need is implementers, people who know how to implement projects, project
Correct.
managers, quantity surveyors, financiers, who can
Well,
spot a problem and do a gap analysis and say, hey, you know what? I will tell you 6 months before this project is supposed to conclude that we're going to have cost overrun. They pinpoint the problem long before, not at the end of the year,
well,
and they say,
well,
you know,
Suma, that's why you would have your schedulers, you'd have scheduled meetings, right? Look at your progress report, look at the loaded resource schedule, a resource loaded schedule, right? You can have 25% of the project completed and already paid out 75%, right?
simple.
Something is
That's
wrong
what
there,
goes on. That is
right?
what goes on. That
So,
is exactly what goes
so you
on.
need well-seasoned project managers, right?
So,
To
but you see,
ensure.
yeah, stop right again. But you're not employing that type of people. That type of people in the after these 20,000. If you look at it, I had a good look at it in all the ministries. 80 to 90% are on the low end. So there are no decision makers at that level. There are no implementers at that level. No senior project managers and analysts, and all these type of jobs. Then none of these jobs are there. So what we're going to say, hey, we created 20,000 more jobs, but what about the implementation side? That is where it suffers.
Yeah, well,
You
well,
know,
probably we
so
need to advertise for more senior technical people to do specific
this is correct.
functions,
This
right?
is correct.
Not
This
just
is
the
exactly.
unskilled, low level
No, these
jobs
people
there.
is just getting a
So
job for a job's sake. I'm glad for them. I'm really glad for
yeah, of
some level.
course.
But what I'm saying is the problem in the government is the implementers of these 128 or 29 projects. Who is going to, how skilled are we? Who is creating that skill database of QS people, project managers and analysts and people who can
Sumant,
do the
when
gap
you're talking
analysis?
about we're talking about a mega project, right? A $500 million or $2 billion US project, right? Those are mega
Mm-hmm.
projects.
Mm-hmm.
The last project I worked on in the Bronx, the Croton Water Filtration Plant, we had 27,000 activities on those
Mm-hmm.
on that schedule. We had to have
Right.
coordination schedules, right? We had multiple prime contractors on there. On a regular day, we have 1,000 craftsmen working, right? And we have to
Correct.
coordinate and
Correct.
manage them and ensure the quality
Yes.
also is delivered on time, within
Excellent.
budget,
Yes.
right?
Especially supply chain
I had to
issues and
one
so on,
day.
which
Let me give you a
people
little
do.
story here. One day, the civil inspector called me. Right, said, "Ken, I have a problem here." I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Look, it was Friday evening. The guy was running late with concrete. We're pouring concrete, about 2,000 yards of concrete. Right, this guy came in about half an hour
Mm.
beyond the tolerance, beyond the time frame. Right, but when you leave the plant, and he's asking me, the driver said, "Hey, I want to pour the concrete." I said. So my civil inspector called me and said, "Hey, Ken, the guy wants to pour the concrete." I said, "How long is he?" He said, "About half an hour." I said, "No. Just go and dump that out in the out in the ground there. Take a picture of it, take the truck number, batch number, ticket number, everything, and send it, and that's it. Tell him to dump it out." Right? By the time he gets mobilized and ready to pour that concrete, it's starting to set up, right? And we have strict guidelines according to the ACI, right? So he called me
Mm-hmm.
again and he said, "Ken, look, the guy is begging." I said, "Let me tell you something. It seems like you don't understand English. And I don't want to have to speak to you again, right? Tell the man and make sure and document it, pour that out, and then tomorrow or day after, you guys will jackhammer it out and throw it in the dumpster, right? And don't call me again to tell me about the man wants to pour it and give him a chance or blind or something. There's nothing like that, right? That's how we operate here. And that's how we should
Correct.
operate back home also, right?
Correct.
Pick standards and the quality, it will reflect in the quality there. You have your schedule, you have scheduled meetings. If the contractor have to crash the schedule, no problem. Tell me how you're going to do
So,
it. You guys gonna work
Yeah.
3 shifts? You're gonna work nighttime,
So,
whatever it is. You're
so,
gonna bring extra equipment. You're gonna bring in 2 pieces of equipment versus one, right? But you need to call back that schedule, right? So that
so
is the kind of project management we need there. Not
yeah,
for
but
let's come
that is not what
and
goes on here.
and you
Over
see that
here, they will
curb.
say,
The curb is
they
here
will
and the road
say,
is here. You know.
they
And
over
when you're
here.
building a road, this all right, and the road called for 4 inches of pitch run, it has to be 4 inches of pitch run, not two and a
Mhm.
half. Okay?
Right. And we could call that.
If it calls for 4 inches of asphalt, it has to be 4 inches of asphalt, not two and a half.
And Gary, we could core it and test it. That's not a problem, right?
Simple.
But
Simple.
also, we need to look at the material that they're placing in the roads, that it has the collect CBR, the California Bearing Ratio, right? And it meets the spec. All these different things, right? Don't let someone bring some kind of old material that mixed with silt and stuff and does not meet checks out in terms of the bearing, California Bearing Ratio and all this other stuff, right? So again, the quality and the accountability, it has to be there. The people who are
So,
managing these projects has to
so
have
what?
that competence and experience.
Correct.
Else we're wasting
So,
time
it's,
and taxpayers'
so,
money.
so you see what goes on here, Ken, in Trinidad, is that when you reach half an hour late and I closing up shop, exactly what you told him, go and dump it there and we'll put it in the dumpster the next day or when next we come out to work, take a photo on it. But here, what will they do here, you think? Go home by me and drop it there. I have a place I'm casting there. You go and dump it there. At so-and-so address. And that's okay. I write it in that you delivered your concrete on time. Anyone looks at these things? And this is what way our system operates. That's why I keep on harping. All our systems are broken. All. And the day you start to appoint people and you hold them accountable, and especially public servants and so on, and impart this in law, anytime you're caught in underhand activities, you lose your pensions and the gratuity, then and only then
Correct.
that this country is going to come up to speed.
Correct. Correct.
Once I know I can get away with these things, yeah, man, I have a 20 by 20 spot in my yard. They just dump it right in. Dump that concrete home by me.
Yeah, but you see
And
this
is what goes on.
you see, again, Sumad, the technical people, right? Should be held accountable also.
But
Right.
they're all
At the end of
bought
the
out,
day,
Ken.
they are
These people
signing
are all
off.
bought out by the contractors and ministers, and so
And now,
ministers are the hand of it.
so when we go to the project, right, and we do a audit on that, a construction audit there, right, and we look at it and we say, okay, so how come the road is here and the curb is here, right? So we start with that and then we start asking questions and hold people accountable. Who is now going to be fixing this? Because here's something. You have a schedule to deliver that road for me, right? And there's liquidated damages, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all these different things we have to look at also. You have to deliver quality on time and within budget, right? And who's delaying my schedule? Is the contractor delaying my schedule or is the client delaying my schedule? Right?
I used to go through the same thing in the hotel industry because when I'm doing an expansion for 200 extra rooms in my hotel, and our contract states by January next year, you're supposed to hand it over in correct order according to the specs. So I start selling in September of the previous year, bookings for January 2026. Right? So I get sold out my January month, thinking that you are going to deliver your 200 rooms to me at the end of December 31st, and you have not done so. So what is it that happens there now? That contractor has to pay me now for all these bookings I have made and my lost revenue that I have incurred because you have failed to deliver the roads for me, my case, the rooms for me on time. You see? So again, once you begin to hold people responsible, including contractors as well, including your technical officers, all your technical officers, and I cannot tell you how many technical officers are involved in these projects, but they are just in name only. I don't think anyone takes the job seriously. I really don't think so. They just
They
go
public
along.
funds again. They treat public funds with disrespect as though it is there to be wasted,
Yes,
right?
yes. It's an
No,
unlimited
no regard or
supply.
respect for public funds, and that is how I see it, right?
Hmm.
Because but also we have to be very mindful also when you deliver a project and it becomes a safety problem, a safety hazard, right? And someone gets injured, that's a liability to the client or to the project owner, right? So we have to think about all these different things, you know. Whilst they're digging up the road, making big potholes, people swinging away from the pothole, some get killed, some head-on accident. Who's held accountable here, right?
Can't look the drain.
Well, yeah, where's the drain there? Look at that, right? Imagine someone signed off on that and accepted that. It shows that no one did a walkthrough. Gary, we're supposed to do a walkthrough there and pick up this thing. No one picked this up. No one actually did a walkthrough, right?
So they
And the
should, to
engineers
correct this,
should be asked to should be questioned on this here, right?
so Ken, what was the team who gave that final inspection for the final payment and so on? Who comprised that team?
A
And
payment requisition would support.
everybody's going to start the brakes for themselves.
No, Somebody doesn't come
Oh,
down to everybody.
not me.
A
It's
payment
you.
requisition has to you have to reconcile that. You have to sit and discuss it, go through the line items, and is accompanied with inspection photos based on the scope of work that you're going to pay for or you're paying for, right? And that has to be approved by someone, you know. So the person who's approving that is just one man
Correct.
who's
Yeah,
involved there.
I know. I'm aware.
right?
I'm aware.
We should ask him that question.
Yes.
What happened there? Right?
And sign off. And
And
sign
if
off. on it.
and now ask him
Versus-
whether or not you could handle this job or are you qualified to do this?
You
Right.
you had to talk to the man who was going to make flooding a part the history in Trinidad that it was not going to exist anymore.
That's the kind of people you're dealing with there.
Yeah, you had to ask the man said he was the most honest Indian in the country.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and they
that's
were
what
in the PNM. You have to ask all the most honest Indians in the PNM how this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're still waiting to see
So
that Gary. What is that fix? You gonna fix flooding in 5 years, something?
Yeah, in 5 years'
What-
time,
that's the next
Port of
joker.
Spain will all these problems flooding.
Yeah.
I say all the floodings in Port of Spain will cease to exist.
Now we
Yeah,
have sewage
the
sewage
honest
mixed with flood
Indians,
water there.
the most honest Indians in the PNM that was in the country is in the PNM, and those are the people responsible, I guess. You know, ask that guy.
Well, we're talking about fixing flooding in Port of Spain. Now we have sewage
Gandhi guy.
mixed with runoff there. So it's a health hazard for the people in Port of Spain who is walking in that flood water, right?
Well, just look. Let's look at this road here, right? You coming
Then
down the
again,
highway.
nobody's help.
You coming down the highway, and you have 2 inches of water on the road. You know what happens to your vehicle with hydroplaning,
it.
right?
Hydroplaning,
and
you
you know
know,
what-
you lose control.
And you know how you end up in the woods, right? And your car cut in half or whatever it is, right?
Gary, you could get killed there. When you lose control, that's it.
Yeah,
You
you
know.
you have 1 inch or 2 inch of water on the road and you coming down and you don't know it's there.
And
Exactly.
Gary, imagine it's in the night and dark and it's no lighting, improper lighting, and so no road markings and in an area like that. It quantifies, triples the impact. You know, you cannot see when water is in the night, the roadway, in the markings in the roadway sometimes when everything is covered. That's it. So again, people get away from being prosecuted in this our Trinidad and Tobago, not being held accountable, yet full payments are
And
executed.
when you have
sometimes.
when you have a DPP that's cockeye, right? They're only seeing one direction. and then you have a justice system. I don't know, which is an actual party group for one political party, right? How do you get justice when justice is with prejudice? Is that justice? Is that really justice? Justice is with prejudice. Is that justice? You know what I mean?
That
So
is
we
no
have
justice.
a lot to
No.
revamp. We had a lot of we had to revamp the police force. We had to restructure the
Everything.
justice system. We have to deal with the
Every,
DPP office, right? We
We have
had,
to
you know what I
reduce
mean? It's a lot of
wastage.
work. With a lot,
We have
we
to
don't need
reduce
5 years.
wastage.
We need 55 years.
We have
correct.
to reduce wastage, Gary. Right? We have to
Too
reduce
much.
There
wastage.
is nobody. There was nothing in place to hold people accountable,
That's
right?
the cornerstone of the problem. If that becomes reality, people start to check up on themselves, on project leaders, project teams, and so on. They'll realize, hey, this is at the end of the road for us. All our pensions and gratuity and so on is going through the tubes now if we don't do this the correct way, because they can hold us responsible for doing slipshod work. And we always will suffer.
Exactly. Correct.
We
Yeah.
always suffer because
And
of
once we
these
see the
things.
slipshot work there, like that road, then we have to ask the person
Man,
who accepted that, right?
yep,
Who signed up on it and
yep.
say, yeah, this is perfect. This is the standard we're looking for. Correct. Pay the
So
man.
that's
Send
the,
cut the
yes,
check. Right?
yes. So he
You
gets
know,
his kickback and so on, and to heck with
so
you.
this
To heck
government
with the people's
will
money.
start to clamp down on that. We need to reduce the wastage, right? But more so, Gary mentioned it also, and I mentioned also, as a safety hazard for the end users. You and I still
Mhm.
are driving that road down in night time, and the water is ponding there, right? And you slip, you hydroplane and you slip, you could lose your life.
And we have
Yep.
seen enough of that in the country, right? We
Yeah,
have seen enough of that in the country. Either the vehicle defected, they're speeding, the road condition is absolutely no good. I mean, we just got the government, so we really basically touch what we're supposed to do yet. We know this passing the budget, so maybe by January things will start to roll in, and we'll start getting some work done. I know we're getting a little done, but not enough because we didn't have the funding. Now that the funding is going to be there, we will see some action.
correct. But we have to put the right people in place so we can get value for money, right? And continue to reduce the wastage. That's very, very important. Because we don't have infinite funds to waste,
Because
Gary.
once we
Not
have
this time
limited
around. Not this time
resources,
around. You see how things are handling very stringent.
Correct.
yes. So you have to end up correcting the problems that the PNM created, whether it was infrastructure, roads, bridges, what have you, markings, signage, a lot serious things. But one thing I need to point out, guys, last week, I think it was Thursday, the Ministry of Trade, Investment and Tourism indicated during the budget debate that the large American steel manufacturer, I don't know if you know them as Nucor, N-U-C-O-R.
Yeah, Nuco.
Nucor was planning to come to Trinidad, but they have canceled because they're saying the crime situation is, the havoc that has been created with the crime situation. They are no longer coming in here. And that is such a sad blow. The same thing happened to one of the hospitality investors as well. They said they're not coming again. Within 1 week, two big multinationals decide, Trinidad is not the right place to invest or to put our dollars in. So you see, the crime activity goes beyond just the killings and this and the homicides and what have you. It begins to impact
Every single
on the
sector.
level of economic activity in the island.
Yeah.
You
Tourism. Nobody wants to come to a place where it's riddled with crime.
Nobody, I would not
But
be
you
going
you
to
heard
some place.
you heard the Minister of Trade say that that was when they told him in North Carolina after he finished pitching. I had to get a copy of that thing, that video.
Yeah, we gotta post that.
On Thursday, I read it, Gary. He said that
I know I was watching the
listening.
Parliament when he spoke, but what I'm saying is I need an actual copy of the footage so I can play
Yes,
it.
he identified the company as Nucor, and I know the Nucor company in the US,
Nucor
one
is
of
a
the
big
largest
company, steel
oil
company in the States. Yeah.
steel company. They're a steel company. Yeah. Nucor is no longer coming to Trinidad. So with these things, imagine 2 investments in 1 week. Adapt chicken
Yes.
out because of the crime situation. Now, the guy can't do anything about that. He's in charge of a ministry, right? But little does he know, or the other, let's say, people responsible for crime, the Ministry of Justice and the other one, National Security. They have to see things that's why you see, we as a group recommended the coordination among ministries. So that when you have a
Yes.
core team, a think tank that will think about these things long before it happens, so that we'll see that, hey, okay, still investment, we would have looked at that, let's say 5 months ago, 4 months ago, and say, you need to put X, Y, and Z in place
That
before
is correct.
these companies come down. So
Yeah.
these situations don't come up at the last moment after you have had discussions, after you have gone to the US and negotiate with the company, and you already started the process only to be disappointed now at the ninth hour. So this is why a think tank for implementation is so critical, and most advancing economies in the world have these things. You look at Singapore, Dubai, and all it. They have these think tanks long ahead. If the US, Rand Corporation, senior economist, this guy, Goldman Sachs, and all these people, these are the people who advise. They know the problems long before, sometimes 2 years before. They
Yeah.
pinpoint
Yes.
the problems that they foresee, from financial interest rates things, the whole works. This is how these people are. So the think tanks are a critical part of any development process. And unless you have these think tanks made up, let's say in our case, like Trinidad, we only need like 150 to 200 skilled, qualified people to advise, because let me tell you something, it's cheaper, much, much cheaper to pay these people, say 200 specialists, rather than go to cost overruns in a project which amounts to millions and millions of dollars.
Correct.
So
Correct.
is like biting the bullet and having that core expertise there.
Welcome, Captain Singh.
Welcome, Captain Singh.
Yes, I.
You're absolutely correct, Sumad. We need to have that think tank team to coordinate. Just like what I
Yes,
mentioned on the project, we have to have a special coordination schedule outside of the baseline, right? To
yes,
coordinate the
correct.
multiple prime contractors. Else it's going to be a
Yes.
monumental mess.
Now,
So yeah.
think
So I
about
think
it. Think about it, Gary. We talk about,
we have to
okay, some
seriously
of
think
these
about that.
mega projects. Think about the mega projects that they're planning to implement right now. San Fernando, let's say take 1 or 2. San Fernando redevelopment project, or the highway from Sando to Mayaro. These are multi-million-dollar projects, right? Who is going to monitor these projects? Are the foreign consultants going to come to monitor these projects? Who is it? Are the lenders, the people who are lending you the money, which in most cases are the banks, the international banks? Who is going to monitor these projects for you? Is it the same public servants who are there to monitoring projects since they
Same public
were
servants,
started their
hire
job 20
consultant.
and 30 years ago? At least the same. Who are the people who is going to monitor these projects for the government? This is my point, If you don't have that skill, core capability to do these things, which you have shown you do not have the capability. That's why every single every single, or is this employment changes?
And Smart, they take a classic example since you're talking about road infrastructure. Look at Mosquito Creek,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. I drive to that up to yesterday, and I can tell you. Yes.
So you have to have
It-
competent
it-
people who could do a design review also, right? Who could read the
That's the
report, the
guy
technical
that just moved from
reports.
the Exim Bank there.
Oh, it's,
Okay.
I can't see. It's too small, Gary, but can you read it? If you have it there?
It's the Forex CEO that they moved from the Exim Bank. Is a guy named was it Dukaran? Some Dukaran in the Exim Bank. I can't see his name completely.
Yeah. Gary, you're saying the Forex CEO
Okay.
fired, eh?
Yeah, they fired the Forex chief.
Yeah. I hope now we can get Forex there, why?
Well, listen, we intend to deal with the Forex mafia, you know. And
Well-
the Prime Minister intend to deal with the Forex mafia, you know. Okay.
Maybe this guy was the problem.
Well,
Let's
I don't
see.
know.
Let's see if you can get from 200 to 300 for the week.
Maybe Dr. Marash will give us some comments there. I don't know.
No, I wanted to talk about. I think Sumit was raising the point about tourism again, and he sounds very, as always, very frustrated with what is happening. There's a report came out on December the 4th.
No.
December the 4th that states that a country in the West Indies by the name of St. Bellamy, some Bartholomew, Bartthal, someone on those small islands in somewhere.
Right, it's Saint Bart. It's known as Saint
Saint
Bart.
Bart,
It's
right,
a
right.
playground for
Yeah.
the
They have
rich
been
and
rated
famous.
as the
Yeah.
as the number one place to go for safety and for everything else, drugs,
Correct.
no drugs and all of that.
Correct,
For
correct,
tourists who
yes.
want to go.
Saint
And
Bart.
St. Barb, right. And second on the list was Anguilla, surprisingly, a small little country like Anguilla.
Yes.
And everybody has got pretty
Yes.
positive reviews, except Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago, they continue to say the State Department is recommending that tourists don't go there because of the crime and because of the drugs. So,
And
because
because
of the
we have a
advisories.
police, we
The
have a police
advisories.
force that is part of the problem and not part of the solution.
So I'm looking at those of us. I mean, I have also registered in Florida. I think I could send off, or some of you could also do it from Florida. Send off a letter to Mr. Rubio, trying to, on behalf of the Trinidad, well, not on behalf of, but trying to lobby on behalf of the Trinidad and Tobago government. Because I think, look, the UNC is in a very good position to negotiate with that regime, the Washington regime now with Mr. Trump and Rubio. If you could get some more stuff, because you have to let them, and them must say, I don't even do that or not. But they have to be letting them know that we in the West Indies are sacrificing ourselves because, like, we stand alone trying to support America in what America is doing, and we're supporting them because we have interest in that. But try to let them know that we are really going out of our way, like Trump will do, a kind of transactional kind of arrangement with Trump, and he falls for these kinds of stuff. I can tell you. And if we could marginalize some stuff favorable to us at this opportune time, the UNC can get a lot of favors from America right now.
Well,
And all they have to do is
don't you think our
all-
Prime Minister
Hold on,
already
hold on.
have this?
When I finish, let me just finish this now, and you'll take over. If they could the guy is transactional, and he get things at the moment. He doesn't make full good move. So I feel that there's an opportunity that they could write it a little deeper. I don't know if they're thinking that far, but perhaps that is something they could show that they are sacrificing themselves by with the neighbors not to get along with the neighbors because of this so-called zone of peace and whatever, blah blah blah. And we're going through all of this, and Mr. America, and I'm looking at the markets in here. The goods are going up. The producers that Trinidad produce, they come here, the tariff will be zero because they have some special field. Trump, he said, no, Trinidad, zero tariff from Trinidad now. He got up in the morning, he'll say those kinds of stuff. So if Trinidad could produce, like I was saying last night, if they could produce, there are markets for these things, and forget the tariff. You could deal with the tariff guy and you could get it across the border. And so that is why I'm saying this, the UNC is positioning itself to do miracles in Trinidad that no one else could do. And that is the bottom line. Still, I might say this tomorrow night again and another night, because I'm very, very in depth and very rational in my thinking in terms of the business that we could be getting done to ride the system. You have an opportunity, ride it. If you want help, you could talk to me. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Dr. Maraj, you
No,
made
no,
a
no.
good
What I'm
point.
saying, Doc, I think that is in the making already. It's in the works,
Yeah.
and because you will notice that the oil companies are stepping up to deal with us. So we already see that formulating. So
Yeah.
a lot of things we don't know up
Right.
front yet, but it's in the works.
G- g-
I could see it, I could feel it,
Yeah.
and we're going to see within next year. By this time, you're going to see a total different scenario and things, because I'm telling you, the prime minister is in the favor of this administration, right? And
Yeah.
I think Trinidad and Tobago is a key player in that regional security area there. So we call in the shots, and we're going
Yeah,
to
and
get the
Gary,
favors. We're going to get
yeah,
the
and Gary,
favors.
yeah, Gary, let me say one more something here just to add to that. Right? We have built a good rapport with Senator Rubio, right? And I wouldn't be surprised come 2028, the ticket is going to be JD Vance Rubio, right? I wouldn't be surprised to see that. And if that, again, the Republicans get the next 4 years there, we would already have a big inroads with a VP, a potential VP candidate, right? So again,
And
it's a big plus.
he has met twice with the Honorable
Correct.
PM
So we are
already.
no
Yeah?
strangers. So I think we
Well,
And
could
he's
build upon that success and that dialogue.
Well,
but
I
he's
am not looking forward for another 4 years of this administration based on what I see happening here. But let's focus on we are dealing with the United States regardless of who's the administration. Let's
Right,
focus on that
right.
on that level, right? So what I'm saying to you is, I think we have things in our favor because we are a key player in that region there. And we are batting for our security. What the United States does with Maduro is their business. But what I'm saying to you is we are concerned about securing Trinidad and Tobago. We are not interfering in the decision making of Maduro and the United States. We are focusing on securing Trinidad. We are focusing on investing investment for Trinidad and Tobago, and then long-term relations with the United States, regardless of which party is in power. We know we are focused on that, and we want to build on that going forward. And we always maintain a good relation with the United States. It's just that
Definitely.
the previous administration didn't have the skills to capitalize on a relationship. They're more focused on protecting Maduro. We are not here to protect Maduro or to go against a Maduro. Maduro business is Maduro business. Our business is our business. What the U.S. do with them there, it has nothing to do with us. Unless they cause some damages to us, that's something different. But I don't think the U.S. is going to operate so foolishly that they jeopardize Trinidad and Tobago, being that we are so close to Venezuela. All right, so all this drama and
right.
nonsense is bullshit.
Yeah,
So
and Gary,
let's
we
see.
have the captain. The captain could elaborate a little bit on that with regards to
Just,
us being hit or anything there.
just before the captain, let me just say this.
Mm.
Um, I'm referring to wheeling and dealing right now with this, because as Gary said, the next 4 years will be somebody else and somebody else. So, right now, the guy we are dealing with is a wheel and deal guy. He from here, right here in Jamaica, and 2 miles away from the estate here. We know this guy from way back when,
which guy are you talking about?
the president.
Uh huh.
So if it's a wheel and deal guy, so what I'm saying is that Trinidad, Gary said they're doing it, but I hope they're wheeling and dealing, because they have to understand how this guy operates, and you could really wheel and deal because they're a dealer. So deal back in and
Believe me,
use
I
the
think
currency,
that is flowing. That is flowing.
yeah,
That is
use
flowing.
his currency to get to where you want to go. Don't let the opportunity waste. You grab it and run with it. Not passively, but actively. So that's the point I really want to get at. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Your point is taken, Dr. Marago.
Yeah,
What I'm
yeah.
telling you is, I know you might not be fully aware of a lot of things that's taking place. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. There's quite a bit that's taking place in the context that you are speaking. And so, I'm hoping that you get to have a personal conversation going forward with the government on that part of it. But anyway, I strongly believe, based on the elements of things I see happening, that we are working in that context and that direction. So, I mean, we deal with the United States and we have a good relationship. Like I said, the previous government killed the opportunities and did not really work on it. They were so focused on protecting Maduro and Dragon Gas and Dragon Gas. And you see now, all of a sudden, within a few months, that Exxon and all these companies are stepping up. Why? All of a sudden, I mean, Modi run down to Trinidad. Just imagine that for this prime minister. Okay, that is a hell of a lot of big, and he gave, no government ever gave Trinidad and Tobago that much. And I recently saw an article in India will be in high demands of energy. So where you think the opportunity for us is going to be? Not only United States, India has been put up there in the world economically. India is the superpower.
Fourth largest economy now.
Okay.
Yep.
So I mean, and it causes a hell of a lot of concern, in the direction that they're moving.
Yeah.
So we not only have the United States, we have India, and we have other relationships with other countries and other islands.
Um. So Gary, I just want to shift a little bit to ask the captain a question and to reassure the people. He mentioned this last time in the program that we are safe in Trinidad. Captain.
Albert, you gotta unmute your mic. You gotta unmute your mic.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
For those
So-
who are worried about the conflict, any potential conflict that was to break out between Trinidad and Venezuela, right? And talking about this radar and we being strike or being a target. What are your opinions and thoughts on that? Or for those who are worried about us being a target, seeing that we are so close to the or just off the coast of Venezuela?
Yes. In my expert opinion, and this is speaking as a retired Intel officer, I retired in 2015. If Maduro were to attack Trinidad and Tobago for whatever reason, it would be a violation of United Nations rules of war. We are not a threat to them. We have no long-range missiles or anything that could target Maduro. If that were to happen, he would gain no advance from this. It wouldn't be a strategic reason for him to do it. He cannot invade Trinidad and Tobago, and holding Trinidad and Tobago is of no use to him. You have the Gulf of Bahrain, we're completely surrounded by water. So for him to even attempt any kind of missile attack, it won't happen because of rules of war and rules of engagement. And if he were to attempt to take Trinidad and Tobago, the government, or take the country itself, it's of no value for him.
No, but Albert, but the way I think about it is that the level of resources that the United States has in that region right now, anything that attempts to come our way, they are capable of shooting it down.
Well,
And
yes.
So
Yes,
that's
that
the
is-
way I'm looking at it. That's the way I'm looking at it. Besides, forget, laws don't stand up to nobody. I mean, you
well,
need force.
I tell you,
You
Gary.
need force.
I tell you, Gary. There is no reason for him to even attempt it, and it's impossible for him to cross to Trinidad. And if he were to do that, he would invite the United States to attack with full force, complete full force. So he knows it. So there's no reason for him to even attempt it. He don't have the resources to even attempt it. and attacking Trinidad and Tobago is of no value. So whatever the people are talking about, this simple radar, which is mobile, and it's sitting in Tobago, which Caracas to Port of Spain is roughly 120 kilometers roughly. If you look at the area between there and Caracas, there's hardly um, any cities or anything there. So it's mainly uninhabited mountainous areas. So it's a density in Caracas. For anything to move to get in range of us, it will have to be able to travel more than 100 kilometers. And what the Russians have in artillery would be about 26 kilometers, 29 kilometers. So you'll have a mobile movement. Anything mobile and moving, the United States is going to be able to see it with their air surveillance. They don't just have the Predator, the Reaper, which is flying above and loiters at about 40,000 feet. And they sit there for about 3 days without fueling. And that is a continuous rotational that's happening because they have many of those and they use them. There's also satellites that's focused on this entire area to look for anything that's moving from a base.
Exactly.
So the opposition and the news is peddling this. Well, this radar is going to make Tobago and Trinidad a target, which is absolute rubbish. It's not a target, and again, if any attack would have happened, it will be stopped immediately, and the United States has air coverage. So anything that happens, we will know. And if there's a first strike, there won't be a second strike. So I don't I don't see any reason for fearing that little radar that's put out there by the Marines and being operated by the United States government. I can only see positives in this because one of the members here had mentioned that this is the perfect opportunity for a better relationship when it comes to national security and trade with the United States. So now the Prime Minister could posture some more and make some concrete deals with getting Trinidad and Tobago back in an economic situation here that we've been floundering in the last 10 years. And also national security. Now, we have so much national security, it's not costing Trinidad and Tobago what it would cost us if we had to run offshore patrol vessels, which I think there are a number of vessels that were purchased for quite a large sum of money, and it's sitting out in Stubbles Bay and it's not being used at all. So I've only seen positives by having the U.S. military and the SOFA agreement that was signed between Trinidad and Tobago. Now, again, what we see in the Southern Command focus on Venezuela. The National Guard from Delaware has been partnered with Trinidad and Tobago, and they have always been making trips and training with the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment. So there's a lot of information that the commanders of the Delaware National Guard would already have. So there isn't anything new that they don't know, because every department would have their intel department that would be looking at the country and what resources are there, and the terrain, and the people, and the politics. So all of that has been studied in depth for quite some time. So again, coming back to the question of would Maduro attack Trinidad and Tobago because of one radar? No, that would not happen. And according to you, Gary, if a missile were to be sent, it would be shut down because there's also another asset that flies, and it has electronic warfare capabilities, which it could shut a lot of things down.
I think we have enough resources there. Remember, we have submarine, we have aircraft carriers, we have warships, we have all these kind of different resources, Alvin. So I think the response will be swift. Are you hearing me, guys? Ken?
Yeah, I'm hearing
Guys,
you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, go
Albert
ahead.
was saying, any questions? Go ahead.
Ken?
Yeah, you hear me? Hold on. You hear me? Hello? Suman, I could hardly hear you. You're very, very faint.
So, something went wrong with your mic, so you're gonna have to.
Okay, I'm hearing what you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. So, Captain, the fear mongering by the opposition here, right? They need to stop that nonsense, right? Because it's, again, inflicting fear, and just like how they trying to peddle, this kind of racial tone with the stand your ground bill and all this other stuff. I mean, they're just grasping straws here. They have nothing of substance to contribute to the people of Trinidad and Tobago except fear and cry racism, right? But coming back to this Rita and stuff here, I'm happy that you cleared up, right? That's a positive for us. It's there to benefit us, right? Not create a threat. So one senator from the I'm not sure if she's from Tobago, but she's saying, we have been invaded by the US with this Rita. I mean, it's all kind of nonsense you're hearing from
But
them.
that alone to show how literate they are about the whole
Correct.
thing. All
Just
right.
like the guy with the cold pot and the breadfruit, right? I mean,
But that's showing you the level of intelligence you're dealing with.
correct. Yeah. So they're exposing themselves. You will rise to the level of your competence at some point. But you look, you're hearing from an expert there who has close to 20 years of military experience serving in Kosovo, Afghanistan, who've been in various battles, and dealt with a lot of high-tech technology. Is telling us here that we are safe, and regardless of what occurs there, we have nothing to worry about. And that is very, very important to reassure the people of Trinidad and Tobago that we will be fine and no need to be tense and listen to the propaganda that the opposition is spreading with regards to the US presence in and around our waters there.
Just just to make the point that last night again in one of my rants I was telling you all that the Honorable Prime Minister is in a good position to grab the microphone and speak to the nation to clarify those stupidities that are going on. Take the bullhorn. Your has a one-way track, no replies. Make the announcements and walk away. You are the Prime Minister. You have them in your hand right now. You may not have them if you in the future. You may or may not. Hopefully you will, and I think you will. But make your announcements, use the airwaves, use the control time, monopolize the situation, set the record straight as the captain is telling us. And you don't have to get in that kind of details, of course, but you are Prime Minister. Let the country hear you. Let them know that you're in charge, man. We know that, but it's song as though you're not. Come on. I was saying that you all didn't reply. Nobody replied to that last night. But I'm saying the same thing again. She need to get in the airwaves. She need to have a one-way street. No Q&A like they normally have every Thursday or Friday or whatever day they have those things. Not that kind of ground level, kind of crab level behavior. We want something
reports at 5,000 Russian missiles.
really supreme, something preaching at the level where you make announcements. I call it announcements. It's not an interview. It's an announcement. This is look at the major issue of the day, address it, and it's free publicity. So grab it and run with it. But that's up to them. Like I said, she has advisors. I would subject to whatever advice she gets, and that's her feel. That's their feel, not my feel. But I'm saying maybe that might be something they could, if they're not thinking about it, they should.
All right, I'm not sure you saw the video I'm going to play.
National reports that 5,000 Russian missiles have landed in Venezuela. People are just increasingly worried about an impending war. Any kind of reassurance to the public who may feel that may come?
Ma'am, I think there's some person who are just fear-mongering. Hysteria, fear-mongering. I assure you to be calm. if and when we know more, we will let you know. We'll keep you informed of what is happening. I have no information of a war. I have no information of missiles landing in Venezuela. Again, we're speculating and driving there. Some just determined with fear-mongering and hysteria. Please be calm. My name is Kamla. Be calm.
Point. You see what she said there? Only 10% of the population will hear that. The fearmongers are still out there, never heard that. And they don't want to hear that anyway. So you get on the nighttime, prime time, 7 o'clock in the night, and you make announcements, and you come back a second time and clarify all those things. And that will be free to you because you have that bullhorn to blow. So get on it.
Now look at the resources we have out there. You see the amount of resources we have there? You think they really want to try something? You know, do they really want to try something? You know what I mean? So we have nothing to worry about.
Gary, can you
You
hear
know,
me?
yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm saying like, so let me see, it's like Suman drop. Okay, hold on. But I'm
No,
just
I'm
saying,
here.
look,
I'm here. I'm
yeah,
here, Gary.
the response will be so swift. You know, don't underestimate, you know,
Tomatida?
Captain Singh will know the capabilities, but what I'm saying to you is don't underestimate the swift response of the U.S. You know, but we have enough resources there to deal with any threat.
You know, there's discussion about they wanted Rowley and the PNM wanted the U.S. to take back the radar which they installed in Tobago. Now we have to understand that there's an election in Tobago 1 month from today, on the 12th of January.
Yeah, but Farley needs to shut his mouth
So,
too because the central government is in authority. You
so
know, he's pushing.
he has made the situation clear that is the prime minister is solely in charge and national security issues. So
Yeah,
he cleared that
right.
up.
But what I'm saying, he at one point was singing a kind of song there, you
But
know,
it's
and
people,
he
it's
wanted to
people,
be on the National Security Council. He cannot be.
yeah, he
He's
cannot
a
be.
local government officer.
I made that point. He's not on the national security, so he just, but people in the party was questioning that. And the opposition PNM was making an issue of it. In fact, today, Rory was having discussions on that said topic, but it didn't come off. His presentation didn't come out. Nobody wants to hear him. Quite rightly so. So they're just trying to make an issue because they have nothing to speak about in the upcoming Tobago election. That is the whole point about it.
Go ahead, gentlemen. Go ahead.
Yeah, but as Gary said, so man, the level of stupidity, you know, in their
Yeah.
comments, there's in their contribution there or their opinion based on what they're seeing. I mean,
They're
sometimes
just
you have to ask
exposing
yourself,
themselves.
yeah, they're exposing themselves, the level of
Yeah.
incompetence. I mean, to say you have to find words to describe some of these people there, right? The woman say we are being invaded. We have been invaded. By what? Anybody dead? You know, Jesus Christ. Something I tell you, I really don't know where to find these representatives from, you know.
But that is to see that is showing you why we Trinidad and Tobago is where it is or has been. Now we have a leader that's taking the country on a higher level, that tried to
Correct.
take the country on a higher level before and is back in the driver's seat, and we should be thankful. And you know, they will try to push any kind of misinformation to cause conflict and disrupt you know, the flow of things. But we have a lot to benefit in the way under the leadership of our prime minister right now.
Yeah.
So you know, everybody should just, you know, take a back seat. And I mean, she's a very intelligent lady, and she's handling herself pretty good.
Correct.
Definitely.
Because we need to address the misinformation and the fake news, right? And the fact checked, you know, what is coming out of the PNM.
Yeah, well, yeah,
That's very, very important.
we have to respond to them swiftly, guys. We have to
Correct.
respond to them.
Correct. Where's the captain? He dropped out.
I think he did. Now, Ken, based on the what you were saying earlier about this channel needs to build up. We have extended the opportunity to many to people. So what I'm looking forward now is some way or the other where I can raise some funding to get a young person to go with a device to cover these various events for the UNC. Because apparently I'm not getting any collaboration from those that are in Trinidad. It seems like I will have to pay for it. So we need like how to say, a freelancing reporter working for us, or one or two.
Yeah, yeah. We
We
try
could get
to
them, give
we'll
them
try
a little
to
stipend or
scout.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
let's try to scout and get someone to put them on the ground there, and they could work with Dr. Magoo and us
They
and
go,
whatnot, be
yeah,
informed,
that's what I was thinking.
Dr. Mangu, and be informed as to what is happening
Yeah.
where, and they could join into the discussions and ask questions like as the reporter, and bring back that footage for us so we could
No, but
publish it also.
they're going live. They're going
Yeah,
live and direct.
correct. Yeah,
So the thing about it is, I there's a lot of events taking place, and apparently I'm not getting any collaboration from any of the MP office that would volunteer somebody to cover the events. So and everybody's just posting. They're using the MP page. But our channel is available, so I have to find someone that will be working for our channel that will cover these various events that's taking place.
Hmm.
Because apparently, also, some people are just pushing their own agenda within these constituencies. So I have to get somebody. And I can't believe it's so difficult to get someone to really volunteer them time. And most of these young people don't want to volunteer. You got to pay them. So, so I would have to get some kind of way of funding. So that's the only way we can move forward, is to get some way of funding where we can pay some of these young people to cover some of these events for us.
no, definitely, and that's why we need to build this subscribership, right? And continue to promote the channel. So yeah, that's something we have to work on, Gary. You see, before the next general election, if we have 50 to 100,000 persons, subscribers here, right, we will have a
We,
commanding voice.
we could fight the next election, man.
Correct. We have a commanding voice here to knock down all the misinformation, which is critical, right, and address it as we've seen it. Because right
If,
now, yes, go ahead.
if we have 100,000 people, Gary is the new prime minister.
You hear that,
Because
Gary?
100,000 means, we could very well be in the majority.
That's a very, very strategic and crucial thing, and I think we should set a goal there. So, man, what do you think?
Yeah. But the thing about it, these young people are not volunteering themselves, and so
Yeah.
we would have to find some way to fund them. To get to get that
Yeah. Let me
And
to cover the events. So I'm
not
hoping this is what I'm hoping down the road, that we could get in that to the point where we have our team on the ground there working for us, covering the UNC events, promoting what's going on, all this kind of stuff. Go ahead,
we-
Yeah.
Suman. Suman is in
Gary,
Trinidad, so Suman can help us with that.
yeah, right. Yeah, what I was thinking is that definitely Dr. Mago, next he is on board here, we can ask him his opinion.
I want you to link up with him directly. Remember that, okay? So you
Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
can
When
talk.
we get down there, we'll link up with him, Sumant.
Yeah, but Suman is there. He can talk on him on the phone
Yeah,
too.
Sumant could engage a conversation.
Yeah, so as soon as you can, Suman.
Right, I'll do that this week. I'll get that this week and I'll let you guys know the outcome of it.
Not a problem. So, Captain, I think I lost the feed there. I had to come back in. So yeah, we need to knock down the disinformation, and let me call it the stupidness from the opposition, right? The fear mongering, as the Prime Minister mentioned also very clearly. And hearing it from you as an expert means a lot. It says a lot there, right? And it builds a lot of credibility also into what our government is saying, right? That there's nothing to fear. Because you have dealt with many, many situations. You've been in multiple wars all over the place, right? I mean, you shared a story there where one of members of your convoy during a battle somewhere in Kabul, when an IED exploded and that body parts was all over the place there. I mean, I don't want to remind you of all these things, but we consider you an expert here, right? And we, your opinion carries a lot of credibility. So to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, you have nothing to fear with the U.S. presence there and the military buildup.
I'd like to say that a lot of people are peddling that the Russians and the Chinese would enter this situation like the Cold War. This is totally different. We were joined with the Russians in Kosovo in 2000 at Camp Bondsteel and Kamenitska, town of Serbs. And the relationship, it seems on paper, it's USA against Russia, but that's not what it is when it actually gets down into um, the presidents and they working their business out. There's no way that the Russians will be able to enter anything in the Caribbean. One, they're bogged down with the Ukrainians, and they don't have the capacity. Like India, they're growing. They're not a superpower, but they are a regional power. And time is on those countries' sides. The only superpower we have is the United States. So for people to be peddling from the opposition, the 13 people that's left in there and their followers, to think that we in Trinidad and Tobago is going to be attacked by the Venezuelans and it's going to be, catastrophic. It's not true. It's not going to happen. And another thing, about a year ago, I think it was, there was fuel, bunkering fuel that was being smuggled from one point of Venezuela and going across, passing through by Tobago, and it sunk. No one could find who the owner of those boats were and the ship boat. And when they did find where it was registered, there was no owners there. And that radar being placed over there, it also aids in anything that's moving out because Maduro, if he's sanctioned with oil and he's selling oil, and other people are smuggling and making money, it's not just about drugs. This is one way of crippling that illegal movement of oil products from there. So the economics of Venezuela, I'm not an economics person at all, but we do in the military have to study the economics of the country that we're looking at. And why are so many Venezuelans, and I checked it, there's about 700,000 here in the United States. I don't know how much moved since Maduro has taken over and the economic crisis there, but I've spoken to a number of Venezuelans, and they were saying that they were working for very little money. I want to think it's like $20 US a month. There's a lot of inflation over there. So with Venezuela sitting on X amount of oil and gas and all of that over there, where's the money going that their population is being taken care of? Apparently, a lot is going on with that government because there's a lot of people that's leaving, and I've spoken to quite a few at a company here in the United States. They were on protective status, and a lot of them are saying they don't want to go back because there's no way of them surviving there financially. So it's an economic thing that's happening with Venezuela, and the president isn't addressing that Maduro. And the opposition from Trinidad and Tobago thinks that the world is blind to knowing that this is what is happening over there. So there's a lot of reasons why you have those ships and surveillance equipment on the north side of Venezuela and the north side of Tobago sitting on that part over there. And their military exercises that's going on there and training. We've had in the United States, we've had a lot of our Navy sitting out in Virginia, and they just have no experience whatsoever. So we have a changeover. So this is also a good move by the United States. Instead of having the boats do training somewhere out in the Caribbean or out in the Atlantic, they actually making the armed forces do something that's deterring drugs that's moving into the United States. So, for example, here in Georgia, we would go to Fort Stewart for about a month and live out in the woods. Whereas you can take us and put us on the border in Arizona. So you actually get some tangible and real world experience from the training, and all of the soldiers. They're better for it. So I think it's on the United States part, it's a good use of money and not mindless training that has no real world experience. So this is good for the United States. It's also good for Trinidad and Tobago. And I think we've seen that in Trinidad, the crime has fallen. We've seen that the movements of drugs into the United States, I haven't seen the data on this end, but it seems as though that has also fallen. So all the way around, I think economically, national security-wise for the Caribbean and for Trinidad and Tobago and the people that live there, I think it's all better for them. And I do hope that there is a continued training. You talk about having a base, but the United States could have a mobile movement in that general area with the surveillance activities and training going on. Ken?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because we have benefited a lot since the US made their presence there and started blasting these drug boats to pieces, right? People can say what they want. These are not fishermen with 450 outboard engines and a whole stockpile of gasoline and stuff, fuel, right? So you will always have people trying to take the other part of this argument and say, well, hey, they're killing innocent people there, right? But these people are poisoning the United States and people all over the world with their
But
their
the
poison.
resources, the military resources, not just in Venezuela, it's from Puerto Rico, all over they're all over the Caribbean
place.
right now.
Right. But when we look at the price of drugs in Trinidad, I heard the price of drugs quadruple because of the short supply. And that is a good thing, right? Again, law-abiding citizens, we are going to stand on one side and we'll draw the line there. And who wants to break the laws and wants this lawless life of crime and stuff, you're going to have to stand on the next side, right? And we're going to have to do battle with the laws and with the law enforcement.
But listen, guys, let me tell you something. The laws cannot stand up. We have to use force, okay?
Correct.
We have to use force, and in these people face us, the laws are not going to stop nobody.
Because part of the problem is that porous border that was left open by the PNM, where we had drugs coming in, flowing in, and goods, human trafficking, right? We had 100+ persons missing, right? Because of a porous border. We don't know if they got kidnapped there, they're dead, or they harvest their organs, right? And all this sort of stuff. Craziness over the last 10 years. And it has to stop at some point. Look, we live in a beautiful Caribbean island, and so much in the tourism sector here, right? We have so much to offer to the rest of the world in terms of our diversity, our food, our culture, right? And I believe that we could definitely build and make Trinidad safe again and a much better place for the future generations to come. But we have to deal with these problems first, right? 10 years of neglect and decay, we have to assess that and see what was the damage, right? And what's the plan now to remedy that and make it better than how we found it.
And definitely we have to be able, Sumant, you're phased out there. I don't know what's going on. You're looking kind of...
I'm here, Gary.
Yeah. We definitely have to remain fully engaged. Go ahead, Sumant.
I said, no, I'm outside, so that's why probably I'm outside the home.
So the U.S. presence there is a blessing in disguise. It's a big plus for us.
And it has had serious economic benefits to us. That's what nobody's talking about,
Look at the tariffs.
The wave of the tariffs, the opening
wave of the tariffs, you're correct.
And do you think the PNM would really want us to succeed in there? They would do everything to derail that, just for the hell of it. You know, just
Correct.
to make themselves look good. They are not
Yes.
interested. For the last
Ab-
10 years, were they interested in anybody? Who they're dead? Long as they fix themselves. In the last stop, the
yes.
prime minister give himself and his cabinet the biggest raise, and to hell with everybody. So I mean, come on, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah,
had a
that's
man, Gary, you
every
had a man who served 2 months as a prime minister. We have his big poster hang up in the airport there.
still is.
I never seen anything like that. Yes. Man served 2 months as a prime minister, and his poster is up in the airport there. You know, if someone was to ask me who was this guy, I say, well, I don't know this. This was the shortest prime minister we ever had in the history of the country since we could gain independence.
Yeah. No, but Gary, you know, when you dice this thing up, you realize that we have suffered the most of all the Caribbean countries. When everybody was enjoying themselves, Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent, Jamaica, and so on, they were enjoying themselves. We were grappling with this problem of illegal immigrants coming in, and that put a strain on our economy. Here is it, we get an opportunity to redress this by having good ties with the US and the associated benefits that accrue because of this. How this deep water drilling and so on, this didn't happen by chance, you know. We realized that these things happen after this escalation of the Southern Command in Venezuela. It happened after, during this time. The same goes for the exploration on the East Coast, you know, and we get in duty-free entry now to the US on certain commodities. In fact, one of these Point Leases companies are paying no duties for entry into the US market of fertilizers. So we are the ones getting the benefits. The rest of the Caribbean who did not suffer any major impact
Okay,
of
guys, I
all
want
of
to welcome Karen Suklal. He's also Karen. You are Trinidad military trained man too, also, right, officer?
Good evening, everyone. No, I'm actually a private for the past 15 years in the reserve.
Oh, yeah, in the
No,
reserve,
no,
in the
no.
army reserve, and you're military. Okay, okay. So I think okay, yeah. So we were discussing the you know, the radar and the assistance with the U.S. and stuff like that, you know, and how the misinformation from the opposition, you know. But go ahead, guys.
Yeah, so I'm saying we took a different stand by condemning the zone of peace. We are not longer a zone of peace, despite what the other Caribbean islands are saying. Mrs. Prasad Bissasu said it bluntly that this is not a region of peace, given our crime alone can tell you what it is. So she was so right in trying to deviate from the rest of the CARICOM. And this has brought us some rewards, and we are thankful for it. So that, you know, according to her, is that everybody has to seek the best interest for themselves. And Trinidad has done that. And so we are reaping the benefits, whatever comes our way. It's coming. As I said, a lot more exploration is happening. After 20 years of inactivity, the favorable tariff agreements and so on. And I look forward to more benefits coming our way because of our stance in supporting the U.S. in the, you know, I wouldn't want to say the war, but in
Well,
the
no, well, you know, it's more we supporting ourselves, you know. We are really
correct.
supporting ourselves, basically,
We
because
support
we have been mostly affected by
by
the illegal activities that has taken cross, and we had a total unsecure border, right,
Mhm.
for the last 10 years. Anything can flow after. We have seen the vessels parked up, and now you know we have gotten a radar to assist us with securing our borders, and we still have to work on getting our vessels out there. But the U.S. presence in the waters there is helping us drastically, you know.
Correct. That's my
You know.
point. And only a certain segment of the people want to read it. We returned it back to the US.
Well, you
Because
know, these people work on. These are the same kind of people that try to frustrate Gibbs and Iwaski when they came to assist us with the crime problem, and they turn it into a racial thing. But the thing about it is that we are benefiting, and these are the people that only care about themselves. Remember, they belong to who their team, right
Yeah.
under their nose, their constituents. They didn't care about their own constituents, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, these are the kind of people we're dealing with, you know. But Karen, how you doing there, buddy? What's your take on the radar there? I mean, you know, being a person of the military there in Trinidad.
Good evening, Gary. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, members. So it's simple. I think that most of these speakers here have hit the nail on the head. At the end of the day, we have a responsibility to protect our borders. We have a responsibility to protect our assets in the country, and not just our borders as well, but all the assets, particularly in the energy sector. That is where my expertise lies. And at the end of the day, from a standpoint as to how we are brought up, as countrymen, we tend to have a close affinity and close connection with US. So when we saw how things were unfolding, it is not that we had to choose a side. It's not about choosing a side. It's about what is choosing the best for our country. And I think that commendation must be given to our PM for how it has done, the tactfulness of it, ensuring the national security of our country, ensuring the best interest for every citizen at the end of the day. So I mean, there is a lot of flag, there is a lot of noise, but unfortunately, that is just the environment that we live in, and at the end of the day, good sense must prevail. At the end of the day, good sense must prevail all around. And again, commendation to our PM and the cabinet for taking a stance in terms of doing what is right.
And we also saw the home invasion bill pass, and they tried to spin it into another racial thing there, and we are very thankful for that part. And Karen, what we are saying in here is I know you're very busy, so it's very hard to get you, but I was happy to be able to get you tonight. So the discussion we've been having is putting things in place so our citizens can understand how to better defend themselves, how to use the weapon wisely in the issuance of the fuel. We want to see the structure restructured, where it's not just the police commissioner that's handling the approvals, but that it is broken down to maybe probably a senior jurisdictional officer of a municipal area, like how we have in the US here. You're familiar with the US with the chief of police and how the structure is in the municipalities. So it is not humanly possible for any one person to handle that workload with their best intention. So we want to see the approval structure for the fuel, restructured, and also we want to see training and stuff like that put in place to help our citizens better understand how to use the weapon, when to use it, and be conscious of what is around them, defending themselves, their family, and stuff like that. So let's get some of your views on that, Karen.
Sure. So I think first thing first is that we must understand that having a firearm is it's a responsible tool. And why is it tool for? Is because training must be given to anyone who holds a firearm, first and foremost. I'm not conversant with the statute that you have mentioned there. However, what I would share though is that when we take on a responsibility to accept a firearm into our household, it must be done on the premise that every single householder, every single member of the home, one is trained to use it and trained to respond. Secondly, what I would like to see in the bill added to it as well is the aspect about, in the event that the firearm is indeed discharged, the protection that is for the household. So I don't see it as a challenge in terms of being able to legally acquire one. I'm just having some I just want to see a little more teeth to be able to protect the householder, that in the event that firearm is indeed discharged, how our householder is going to be is going to treat it. So what I want to say though is that how we know and we welcome that bill. I would just like to state to the providers and the holders of these future fuel that it is a big responsibility Because what we see, particularly in the US, is that access to firearm causes a lot of the discharge of firearm. Causes a lot of loved ones to be hurt by careless storage, things along that line. We have to understand as well too the temperament of Trinidad and Tobago that we live in. So road rage is a critical component in terms of how anger is meted out into society. So I know that we were talking about the accessibility, but I just want to share on a different spectrum that when we as individuals have a firearm, we have to understand how we cannot just discharge this firearm or brandish this firearm because we feel that we want to argue a point, or we want to be able to tell the other person, I have a firearm, you must be afraid of me. So I want to see a better psychometric tests being done for persons who are going to acquire these firearms. I welcome all persons being able to defend themselves in their castle. You are a king in your own castle. And I welcome the fact of training for every single householder. So if it is a wife has a firearm, the husband must be able to use it. If it is the husband have a firearm, his daughter who is over 18 must be able to use it. Things along that line, what I'm gearing at. Everybody must have access to training. Everybody must have access to defend themselves, particularly in their castle. What I want to say too is that Trinidad and Tobago is small. Trinidad and Tobago is small from the context of from a regional corporation standpoint or a municipality standpoint. One of the things that I see, particularly in dealing with these matters and hearing stories from fellow batch and service personnel, is that how it works right now, just to share with everyone, is that when you apply for a firearm, there's 2 forms you have to fill out essentially. And one of those forms, when you fill it out, you have to go to a divisional police station. Because Trinidad and Tobago is so small, if it is you have an altercation with somebody in that particular divisional office in your hometown or that police station or something along that line, your file essentially falls into drawer 7. What drawer 7 is? Drawer 7 is a military term where it's the bin, refer to the bin, right? So we want to have protection for the applicants as well to ensure that if it is you live in a small town area. So for example, for me, I live in Sangre Grande. If it is you live in a small town area and you have some disagreement with an officer in Sangre Grande, that must not stop your process from being able to, as a law-abiding citizen, it must not stop you from being able to apply for your firearm. So, we want to see the process as well a bit more fine-tuned, where you don't necessarily have to go to that the first tier is not out the window. So, application directly to what is known as firearms unit. So having application sent directly to firearms unit, and then a file number be created for you, and then send down to your divisional station for investigation. That can also help the process as well to ensure that everyone have a fair process and be able to apply for what is known as a FUL number or file number. Sorry. So the process is right now is that you apply to divisional station via the 2 forms, then it goes to firearm in Port of Spain, where a file number is given to you, and then it comes back to your divisional station for investigation. And then the officer comes to your home, investigate, speak to your Durham Putney, speak to your loved one, make sure that you're not a threat to society or a threat to your home. They look for safe things along that line. So I'm just saying, if it is, we could upscale the process, let them go direct to Port of Spain. You prevent a lot of the issues where persons may have, an issue with
bias. Yeah. You made a good point there. But what I'm saying is, what I'm looking forward is then we need to put more people on board for the approval purpose. It can't be locked down to the commissioner of police.
Yes,
we need
to expedite the process.
And it's too bureaucratic. That what you just mentioned, it would take 10 years. Captain applied in 2015 and he's still waiting 2025 here. 10 years and maybe the next 10 years again. Right?
That's why I'm saying
they have to have
technology
a turnaround time associated or stipulated there for these application process. Right? You can't be waiting 10 years to hear a response or waiting and calling and emailing and stuff to get a status on your application. Right? So that is very how do I say? Bureaucratic, incompetent.
Yeah. So we would have to make it electronic. We'd also have to make it electronic, where you could file electronically and
then we also have to eliminate the corruption in the process.
Yeah. So that definitely, is something that definitely needs to be done.
Because Gary,
You know.
you've heard cases where people are been bribing, persons for $50,000 to get a FUL, right?
Yep.
We
So
had a
when
long
these
history for that.
officers
A long history for that.
they taste this money, right? Every application they see is this because it's $50,000, right? And why would they want to move yours? So again, there's an element of corruption that has to be taken care of, and we have to have a well-vetted system, right, in place to ensure that we weed out the corruption.
One of the things that I think Guy would have just mentioned in the aspect of digitalization. One of the things that I enjoy, in before this government would have taken charge, was the aspect of digitalization. And now that we have a Ministry of Public Administration and Artificial Intelligence, I think could actually be down their arm, that they could actually digitalize the process, because it is a very simple. I know the process in and out. I've guided many persons into it, so it's a perfect opportunity to digitalize a process that we all, as many of you all would have mentioned here, we all heard the horror stories. I've never been subjected. I never will ever partake in that aspect of things. But we've all heard that horror stories of persons having to do those uncanny things that you just described here. So I think, Gary, through you and the forum and many of the members that partake in this program here, could be a nice charge that POBAD and Ministry of Public Administration and Artificial Intelligence is the proper ministry. I think it's a nice thing that they could dive into terms of digitalizing this process. 2 simple forms, so you could actually track it.
And Karen, by the way, I don't know if you know, our forum was the one that recommended that Ministry of Technology and AI to the PM.
Oh, excellent.
So Karen, going forward, whenever you could spare time and jump on, I would like to really have you on board in the discussions going forward. We know we could cover a lot of these things. We cover the disaster things and stuff like that. But I know you've been kind of buckled down with work going back and forth. So whenever you could join, I'd like to have you on board here in the discussion. We do go kind of late, so if you get on late, we're still on board. But we have we still have to get going with Sandy Grande there, and the projects that we're trying to get on board. We're just trying to get things in order there with these guys up there to move forward. But the team is fully ready, and yourself, I know, is ready also to move forward with the development of Sandy Grande up there. So I know we have quite a bit of things to really deal with. We have our engineer here. This is Mr. Ken Dalchan, who is the engineer that's dealing with the flood mitigation, and he has a lot of things prepared. So that's so at least you guys get to know each other there. So Ken, offline, you could link up with Karen and talk a little bit with him too. Now.
Yeah, definitely. We'll link
nice to meet you, Ken.
Definitely.
Also,
because I already started talking to the farmers in Sandy Grande, yeah? Some of the farmers represented, 3 or 4 of them, and they represent about 100+ farmers there. And they have some serious flooding problems. And so we need to have some discussions and whatnot. And it's good to have a local like yourself in Sandy Grande who are much more familiar with the terrain and stuff there. So so that'll be a big plus moving forward.
So soon as you guys can link up, I would like to see that happen.
Definitely.
Suman, you were saying something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we already have a tourism plan, a community-based tourism plan, whenever they're ready to, seriously hold some discussions with us. So we have that mapped out already.
Karen is he's in our Sandy Grande group, and you guys have seen him there post once in a while. Link up with him, definitely, and we want by the time turn at the beginning of the year, we want to be ready to move forward. So
right.
Also, Gary, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, Karen, we have Captain Singh here. He's a retired Army vet. He has close to 20 years experience in the Army. I've been all over the world: Kosovo, Afghanistan, Iraq. And he brings a lot of expertise, military expertise, So he's been commenting a lot on the Venezuelan presence, the U.S. presence in our waters and stuff. So here it's a big plus for us also, given the fact that we have something in our, back, on our doorsteps there. So he brings in that expertise also to the group.
Excellent. Nice to meet you, sir. Thank you for your service, sir.
Yeah, the same here. I applied for my FUL in 2015. I did the psychological testing in Chaguanas by KISS over there. There's a place that does it. And the house has to be secured. So they came and they investigated the house I was living in, make sure it was secured front, back, and the windows, and also where a weapon would be stored. The person that came was a sergeant from the Caroni station. And then they follow up about a number of years later. They came back and they followed up, but I wasn't at the house. They checked with my neighbors on the streets, and it's been pending. So I think the new process is that if your police character certificate is outdated, I think the police commissioner said that the whole process has to be started all over. That they were going to expunge the old applications that was inside. So it's one of those things. It's a long drawn out process, and I do like the idea that you suggested that it should be tracked online. I remember going to the police headquarters in Port of Spain on the third floor, the fourth floor, where the records are kept, and I had the file number, and it was just, well, it's not going to move and go anywhere. So that was that. But with the national security and state of emergency, I think it's a good thing to have. Crime was way out of hand in Trinidad, and all the illegal activities that happen, human trafficking, drugs, and transshipment of drugs to Europe and the United States. Also illegal gambling. There's also illegal movement of goods in the south part of Cedros, and also illegal quarrying that adds to the crime and the gangs in Trinidad and Tobago. So in the last 60 days, I haven't heard anything about the number gangs, the 6, the 7, and whatever else that was there. Seems quite quiet there. But once the source of income is taken away from them, I expect a surge in petty crimes. I expect a surge in crimes that we've seen with people being robbed in taxis and public transportation, along with more home invasion. So I think that it's critical that this bill is passed quickly. People are trained in handling weapons at the house. Here, I live in Georgia, so to get a permit to carry, you just go to the courthouse, and in 3 days you get your permit. And you're allowed to have your permit. A long rifle, you don't need a permit for that. You get that within 24 hours. You get your permit to buy a rifle if you're hunting. This is a gun state. One thing here, I have 2 boys, 8 and 4. So the weapon has been broken down in that way that they can't put it together, and there's no bullets for it. It's a rifle, and the shotgun. That I had to get rid of that because that was a more military grade type weapon for breaching homes or buildings. And there's no need for it here because it's quite safe. You can leave your house open, you can leave your keys in the car outside, and your wallet in there, and you come back and it'll be there. And if your neighbors see, they may come and close the door, and I'll leave a note for you, let you know that they came by. But it's quite safe, and with safety in Trinidad and Tobago, you will have economic prosperity. You'll have a lot more things happening with tourism and all that. Nobody wants to go into a place that is dangerous for it to visit or to spend a short period of time. And I think Trinidad and Tobago has been on the minds of the United States because I think one senator he said that DC was dangerous, more dangerous than Trinidad and Tobago. So we have made the news all over the world. Now we are in the cartoons where someone could be using the internet anywhere, even Trinidad and Tobago. So I think with this we have a lot of media coverage in Trinidad now, and we should capitalize on it. The good things that's coming out of here is the money being spent to blockade and to stop the transshipment of drugs and human trafficking through Trinidad and Tobago or around it. Also, I suspect a lot of bunkering fuel and fuel that's being sold on a black market by Venezuela and other countries. If it's unregistered, the United States Navy is out there. They will stop it, and they will be tracking stuff like that. So I haven't heard anyone get sanctioned yet, and all the people that are in opposition to the United States and have nothing good to say. I'm yet to see one of them say, "Hey, this is my visa, and I don't want it anymore. I'm gonna rescind it." I haven't heard anyone say that yet. I haven't heard anyone say that. We're not gonna go for vacation in Disney World. I haven't seen anyone saying that my children who study in the United States, we're gonna pull them back and send them to someplace in Europe. So a lot of these people are out just there to be obstructionists in this movement to prevent this crime, these crime initiatives from happening. And they have a vested interest. They all have a vested interest. All these smaller islands in the Caribbean. It's right for the movement of illegal substances through the Caribbean. So I'm sitting here, I'm watching the news, and we must know that in Panama, in December 20th, 1989, the United States went in, the airdrops into the airport and took the airfield, and then went in and took Manuel Noriega out. So we're getting close to the 20th here in December, and that's 36 years ago. The United States has a history of doing the same thing in a similar manner. So, this is something that people in Trinidad should be, and around who's traveling around there should be cognizant of what's happening and the history of what happened with Mr. Noriega when they arrested him and took him out. So anything is possible. We'll see how much pressure goes in into the government, the regime of Maduro, and I think Trinidad and Tobago is in a good position. It hasn't been in a good position like this to solve that runaway crime. Ken?
No, definitely. Well said. Well said. I think you capture everything there, right? And also one thing you mentioned when it comes to air surveillance, we have the Reaper monitoring the skies 24/7. So as far as the airspace, right?
Yeah.
We are safe. We have nothing to worry about that. You want to elaborate on that?
Yes. It would be the Reaper, yes. And there's another piece of equipment that they could shut everything off. So if you see a total black off in a particular area, it's because they can't do that. We had it in Afghanistan, and we had it in Kosovo, and in South Korea on the DMZ. I wasn't aware of what was happening, but I know we have that existed back then also. So if there's going to be electronic warfare, there's a lot of things that could be shut off.
You mean like jamming the cell phones and things like that? You're talking about communication?
They can shut. They can shut not only cell phones off. They can shut anything that
the radars and what have you.
Yeah, they can shut everything. They can shut airplanes off. Drones. They can shut everything down.
Satellites. Military satellites and what have you.
Yes. So it's a lot of technology there. I mean, you have all the warfare. You have electronic warfare. You have human intelligence with the CIA supposedly in there. You have the Navy being out there in presence with the Marines, and I haven't heard anything about Army. So if there's a movement where I'm at here, I would know, because we have the 175th Ranger Battalion here, and they are a unit used for airdrop, and they fight inside. So they drop in, and they're the ones that most likely would be sent him to take an airport. Um, and I can go into details on how it would happen, but obviously air superiority, where they would use a lot of bombs from the air, take off critical infrastructure that the Venezuelans would have, military would have, and then parachute in with maybe an amphibious assault of some sort if it's close enough. But I think that's a far away from happening. I haven't seen anything on my end here with any movement because one way of knowing when something is happening, they shut everything down in the bases where I'm living near too. So you kind of have a general sense that something is about to happen. They go into a rapid response mode where nothing goes in and nothing goes out into those bases, and then you see the number of people on lockdown. So no, we haven't seen any of that here, and most likely the troops would come from somewhere on the eastern seaboard, which is where most of these troops are being kept, army kept. So can the Marines do it? Yeah, the Marines can do it by themselves. They're large enough and they have enough power to do it. But definitely, again, I would say that we have nothing to fear about the simple radar that's being put in Scarborough, which is the A&R Robinson Airport, and I've been around those, and it's not a big deal. I mean, so maybe a 3 to 4 man team that will be operating it. And one of the questions someone from Tobago asked was the cost to Trinidad and Tobago. Are any Trinidadians being trained on it, and the data that's coming off, who is it going to? I mean, those are very silly questions to ask. It has no merit in asking those questions. And I think these people are just asking these questions because they know
What they want
that
to know
they
if
just want to
Trinidadians have
cause
been
some
trained on
kind of
the on using the
controversy
radar.
against the government and the prime minister. Well, I'll tell you that it costs Trinidad and Tobago absolutely nothing. And the most likely, no one but the US will be touching that equipment because it's top secret anyways. And the data, even if you were to get the data, what could Trinidad and Tobago do with the data? So what's the point in sharing it with them?
But that's the fact that
You can't take
the
action with
military
it. So
resources.
knowing what it's detected, we don't even have a proper also offshore patrol vessel that could go and stop anything that's moving out there.
Well,
From what I've been told, I think the police officer, he could explain if he's here.
I know he had to go. He was not police. He was a military.
Ken,
Trinidad
Gary?
military. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's gone. You hear me? Yeah.
yeah.
So what I'm saying, Alvin, what I'm saying to you, basically, just the fact that the U.S. presence is in the area is helping us tremendously. That's the way I look at it. You know, without him having to do anything, just
I'm
being
not hearing
there.
anything. You guys there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you not
Oh,
hearing me?
I'm not hearing
I'm hearing
anything.
you loud and
You
clear.
can go ahead.
Yeah.
You hear me, Ken?
Yeah, I'm hearing you, Gary.
Okay. So what I'm saying to you is just the fact that the U.S. resources is there is helping us tremendously. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I mean, with the amount of equipment alone by itself, I mean, that is a hell of a lot. Compared to what we was having for the last 10 years. So,
We even have the airspace being monitored also.
yeah, SPSC and I mean, what I'm saying, whatever they do in Maduro, I mean, that has nothing to do with Trinidad and Tobago. What I'm saying, what I'm looking at is just the fact that they're there. With the surveillance alone is a hell of a lot of deterrence. And then, I
Correct.
mean, they are dealing with these drug boats, taking it out in the waters. They shoot. They send, in fact, the first one send a very clear message, as far as I'm concerned. You know, so that works for us. You know what?
Definitely, definitely.
All right, guys, I think we pretty much covered it, right? So maybe tomorrow night
Yeah,
I'll let you know. Um,
definitely.
yeah, but we want to stay on top of things with being responding aggressively to the PNM propaganda and not let them just kind of try to bully our government there and to spread misinformation and cause panic. We have to stand with our prime minister throughout this situation. So again, I
Well,
would like to say, go ahead.
yeah. Well, we have Captain Alvin here with all the military experience to comment on any kind of fake news or propaganda that the PNM might want to, spread, right? So it's a big plus to have him here. And thanks again, Gary. Thanks again, guys.
All right, I will say good night, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We'll catch up.
Take care.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.